What if the strength you are so proud of, the strength to hold on through any storm, is the very anchor that is drowning you? What if the act you need is not one of greater effort, but of profound surrender? For a long time, you have been fighting. You have been told that life is a battle to be won, a summit to be conquered, a wild beast to be tamed, and so you have held on. You have clenched your jaw, tightened your fists, and braced yourself against the winds of change, the tides of loss, the currents of uncertainty. You have held on to what was, to what you believe should be, to the pain that has become so familiar it feels like a part of you. But look at your hands. Feel the ache in your muscles, the exhaustion deep within your bones. The fist that has been clenched for so long is now trembling, not with power, but with fatigue. You are trying to hold water in your grasp, to capture the wind, to stop the sand from slipping through your fingers. It is a noble fight, born of a desire for safety, for control, but it is a fight you were never meant to win. Because the universe does not yield to force. Life does not bend to our desperate demands. The pain you are feeling is not just the pain of the original wound, but the agonizing, constant friction of your resistance to what is. It is the strain of a war waged entirely within yourself. So for this moment right here, I invite you to entertain a different possibility, a quiet rebellion. Not an act of doing, but an act of undoing. We will not build new walls or forge new weapons. We will simply lay our burdens down. We will enter a space of stillness, a sanctuary of observation, where the only requirement is to breathe. Here, we begin the sacred practice of letting go, which is not a practice of pushing away, but of ceasing to pull. It is the discovery of a power found not in the grip, but in the gentle, courageous opening of the hand. This is the journey of remembering how to float. To truly begin, we must look directly at the thing we are trying to release. We must understand its architecture, its anatomy, the reasons it has become so deeply embedded in the fabric of our being. We often treat the act of holding on as a simple failure of will, a weakness to be overcome. But the truth is far more complex and far more compassionate. The psyche does not cling to something for no reason. Holding on is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of a flawed but powerful survival strategy. Your pain, your grievance, your regret has become a known territory. It may be a desolate landscape filled with shadows and sharp edges, but you know its geography by heart. You know where the cliffs of despair are. You know the valley of old sorrows. You know the bitter river of what-ifs. You have walked this ground for so long that its very desolation has become a form of comfort. The mind, in its ceaseless quest for safety, prefers a familiar hell to a strange heaven. To let go of this pain is to step off the map, to venture into an unknown wilderness. And this void, this vast emptiness of the unknown, is what the ego fears above all else. It is a kind of death. For what is the ego, if not a collection of stories? It is a fortress built from the bricks of memory, cemented by the mortar of belief. And the most powerful bricks, the ones that form the very foundation of this fortress, are often the ones forged in the fires of suffering. I am the one who was abandoned. I am the one who failed. I am the one who was wronged. These are not just memories. They are identities. They are roles we have learned to play with such conviction that we have forgotten we are the actors. The pain gives the ego a narrative, a purpose, a sense of importance. To be the one who endures, the one who suffers, the one who carries a great burden, is to be someone. The story of our pain gives us a strange kind of gravity, a sense of substance in a world that can feel chaotic and meaningless. And so we protect it. We polish the story, we replay its scenes, we defend its validity, because we believe that without it, we will dissolve. We will become nothing. This is the silent, terrifying bargain we make with ourselves. We trade freedom for a solid identity. We trade the lightness of being for the weight of a story that keeps us anchored to the ground. Herein lies the great internal conflict, the silent civil war that drains your life force day by day. One part of you, the soul, the essence, the consciousness that is your true nature, yearns for the open sky. It craves expansion, lightness, peace. It whispers to you in moments of stillness, reminding you of a joy that is not dependent on circumstances. It is the part of you that thrills at the sight of a sunset, that feels a sense of connection when listening to a beautiful piece of music, that knows, on an intuitive level, that you are more than your history. But then there is the other part, the warden of the prison, the ego, the storyteller, the fierce protector of the known. It hears the soul's whisper and sees it as a threat. It tightens its grip. It reminds you of the dangers outside the walls of your familiar pain. It tells you that letting go is naive, that forgiveness is weakness, that without your armor of cynicism and grief, you will surely be hurt again. It asks the terrifying question, if you are not your story, who are you? And in the face of that question, most of us retreat. We shrink back into the cold comfort of our cell, choosing the familiar ache of the chains over the frightening responsibility of freedom. This is the struggle you feel, the pull toward the light, and the anchor of your own identity holding you back. Please know this is not a personal failing. It is a deeply human dilemma. But now, a ray of light must enter the cell, and the light carries this message. The prison is not real. The walls are made of thought. The chains are forged from memory. The warden is a phantom constructed by fear. The act of holding on, this entire complex structure of pain and identity, is a habit. It is nothing more than a deeply ingrained mental and emotional pattern. It is not you. You are not the storm. You are the sky in which the storm is passing. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that notices the thought. You are not the feeling. You are the silent, spacious presence in which the feeling is allowed to arise and fall. This realization is the beginning of all freedom. The moment you can see a habit as a habit, you are no longer completely fused with it. You have created a sliver of space, and in that space, miracles can happen. Your identity is not defined by the pattern of holding on. It is defined by your ability, right now, in this moment, to recognize the pattern. That recognition is an act of profound power. It is the awakening of the observer within. So how do we begin to widen that sliver of space? We start with a practice so simple it seems insignificant, yet its power is transformative. We change our language. We change it not just externally, but in the silent theater of our own minds. When the familiar wave of sadness washes over you, instead of thinking, "I am sad," pause, take a breath, and gently rephrase it. I notice that a feeling of sadness is present. When anger surges, instead of collapsing into the identity of "I am angry," create a space. I am aware of a strong energy of anger moving through my body. See the difference? I am is a statement of identity. It is a declaration of fusion. It is absolute. There is no space between you and the feeling. But I notice, or I am aware of, is a statement of observation. It immediately creates a duality. There is the observer, and there is the thing being observed. In that simple, conscious act of separation, you reclaim your true position. You are the observer, not the storm. You are the consciousness, not the content. This is not an intellectual trick. It is a shift in the very foundation of your experience. Think of it this way. For years, you have been carrying a sharp rock in your pocket. When you first picked it up, the pain was acute. Its jagged edges dug into your skin, but over time, a callus formed. Your body adapted. The weight of the rock became so constant that your posture changed to accommodate it. You learned to walk with a slight lean, to move in a way that wouldn't agitate the rock too much. After years, You have forgotten what it feels like to walk upright, what it feels like to have an empty, weightless pocket. You have mistaken the weight of the rock for a part of your own body. The pain is no longer sharp, but a dull, pervasive ache that you have accepted as normal. The practice of saying, "I notice this feeling," is the first time you consciously slip your hand into your pocket and touch the rock as a rock. You are not yet trying to throw it away. You are simply reacquainting yourself with its reality. You are feeling its texture, its weight, its temperature, not as a part of you, but as a separate object you have been carrying. This is the first, essential, and most courageous step. It is the anatomy of your freedom. It begins not with a grand gesture of release, but with a quiet, honest whisper of recognition. There is a rock in my pocket. There is a feeling here, and I, the observer, am here to witness it. Having acknowledged the act of holding on, we now turn our attention to the object of our grip. What is this heavy stone we carry, this phantom weight that dictates our posture and drains our vitality? When we look closely, with unflinching honesty, we find it is made not of matter, but of narrative. It is a story. You are not holding on to a person, a job, or a moment in time. You are holding on to the story you have told yourself about them. The human mind is a ghost in the machine. Its primary function, beyond basic survival, is to make sense of the chaos of existence. It does this by weaving raw, unfiltered experience into coherent stories. It is a master storyteller, a tireless author, writing the epic saga of me. This is not a flaw, it is its nature. It takes the unpatterned data of life, a word spoken, an action taken, a door closed, and arranges it into a plot, complete with heroes and villains, turning points and tragedies. And the stories that it holds onto most tightly, the ones it replays with the most obsessive dedication, are the stories of our pain. These are not dormant files in a dusty archive. They are active, living ghosts that haunt the mansion of your present moment. The machine of the mind is always running, and its favorite film is the tragedy of yesterday. It projects these ghosts onto the faces of new people, onto the landscapes of new opportunities. A kind word from a new partner is heard through the spectral filter of a past betrayal, and so it sounds hollow, suspicious. An invitation to take a risk is seen through the smoky lens of a past failure, and so it looks like a cliff edge, not a doorway. You are not actually living in this moment, in this room, with these people. You are living in a haunted house, populated by the specters of what was. You are constantly in conversation with ghosts, arguing with shadows, trying to win battles that ended long ago. The present moment arrives, clean and unblemished, a pristine canvas, but before you can even perceive it, the ghost in the machine has already projected its old familiar film onto it. And you, mistaking the projection for reality, react. You flinch from a projected blow, you weep at a projected loss. And the world, reflecting your reaction, seems to confirm the validity of the ghost story, trapping you ever deeper in the cycle. Why do we allow this haunting? Why do we sit in the dark, watching the same sad movie over and over again? Because there is a subtle, insidious seduction in the act of re-examining the past. It offers the illusion of control. The mind whispers a tempting lie. If you can just think it through one more time, you will finally understand it. You will find the missing piece, the key that explains everything. You will see where you went wrong, or where they went wrong. And if you understand it, you can prevent it from ever happening again. And so we become obsessive archaeologists of our own ruins, digging through the rubble of yesterday, turning over the same broken artifacts, hoping to find a different truth. We analyze conversations that are years gone. We dissect motives of people who are no longer in our lives. We construct elaborate alternate timelines, branching universes of what if and if only. This endless analysis feels productive. It feels like we are doing important work. but it is a labyrinth, a mental hamster wheel that spins and spins, going nowhere, all while giving the sensation of immense effort. It is an addiction to a puzzle that has no solution because the events are over. You cannot solve a memory. You can only release your grip on it. The desire to move forward into a new life is constantly at war with this deep, addictive temptation to mentally master the past, a mastery that will never come. The core message, the light that shatters the projector's beam, is this: you are not the story. You are not the film. You are not the character on the screen, nor the ghosts that haunt the house. You are the space in which the story unfolds. You are the silent, motionless screen upon which the film is projected. You are the vast, quiet stillness of the house that contains all the echoes and all the ghosts. They are not you. They are simply phenomena passing through your awareness. Can you feel the radical shift in that? The story of your life is not your life. It is just a story. A powerful one, a compelling one, but a story nonetheless. The sky is not damaged by the darkest storm cloud. The ocean is not defined by the most violent wave. The sky remains the sky, vast and peaceful. The ocean remains the ocean, deep and powerful. The cloud passes, the wave subsides. Your awareness, your true self, is that sky, that ocean. Its nature is peace. Its nature is spaciousness. The power you seek is not in rewriting the story, nor in defeating the ghosts. It is in the simple, profound, earth-shattering realization that they are not and have never been. You are the watcher. To cultivate this realization, we can use a simple, gentle practice. It is a practice of non-engagement, of active allowance. When you find yourself caught in the loop of a painful memory, a ghost story from yesterday, do not fight it. Do not try to push it away, for what you resist persists. Instead, visualize a gently flowing stream in a quiet forest. The water is clear, moving at its own unhurried pace. Now, see the thought or the memory that has captured you. See it not as a part of you, but as a separate object. And then, with great gentleness, place that thought object onto a leaf floating on the stream. Now, your only task is to watch. Watch the leaf. Watch as the current catches it. Watch as it slowly, peacefully drifts away from you, down the stream, around a bend, and out of sight. If the thought comes back, place it on another leaf, and another. The goal is not to get rid of the thought. The goal is to practice the gesture of release. It is to train your mind in the art of letting things pass, rather than the habit of clutching them. You are not forcing anything. You are allowing the natural flow of consciousness, the stream of life, to do the work for you. You are aligning yourself with the current of time, which only ever flows in one direction, away from the past. Let us return to our ghost in the machine. Imagine your mind is an old film projector in a dark room. It is whirring, clicking, a bit dusty. For years, it has been loaded with the same film reel, the one titled My Pain, or My Great Loss, or My Unforgivable Mistake. And it has been projecting this film, non-stop, onto the clean, white wall of the present moment. You have been sitting in the dark for so long, utterly mesmerized by the drama on the wall, that you have forgotten about the projector. You have forgotten you are in a room. You believe the flickering images are the only reality. You cry at the sad parts. You get angry at the villain. You feel the despair of the protagonist over and over again. You know every line by heart. Letting go is not about jumping into the screen and fighting the characters. It is not about yelling at the wall to change the story. It is the moment you finally become aware of the gentle whirring sound in the room. It is the moment you turn your head away from the screen and see the projector for the first time. You see the beam of light cutting through the darkness. You see that the source of the entire drama is this machine, this habit engine. And with this awareness comes a power you never knew you had. You can walk over to the projector. You can observe it with compassion for how hard it has worked to tell you a story it thought you needed. And then you can gently, deliberately reach out and flip the switch to off. And in the sudden, shocking silence, in the complete and total darkness, your eyes begin to adjust, and you see that the wall, the screen of the now, was never stained. It was never broken. It was never anything but pure, pristine, infinite potential waiting for a new light. Your light. We have begun the courageous work of turning off the projector, of letting the ghosts of yesterday fade into the silence from which they came. But the mind, this restless, sense-making machine, abhors a vacuum. Once the screen of the present is wiped clean of the past, the mind often performs its next great trick. It swings its powerful lens from what has been to what might be. It ceases to be a historian of our pain and becomes its prophet. The haunting of memory is replaced by the tyranny of anticipation. This is the landscape of anxiety. It is the second great method of holding on, not to a past that is gone, but to a future that has not yet arrived. It is the act of clenching your fist around smoke. Anxiety is a misuse of the sacred faculty of imagination. Imagination, when used consciously, can build worlds, create art, and solve problems. But when left to run on the default programming of fear, it becomes a torture chamber. It constructs 1,000 possible futures, and almost all of them are tragic. Worry is the process of building a detailed blueprint for a catastrophe, and then moving into the blueprint and furnishing it with your own emotional energy. You do not just think, "What if I lose my job?" You live it. You feel the shame in your gut, the cold panic in your chest. You hear the imagined words of disappointment from your family. You feel the phantom weight of bills you cannot pay. You have created a future, and you are suffering its consequences in the present. The body, in its beautiful, simple wisdom, does not distinguish between a vividly imagined threat and a real one. To your nervous system, the thought of the charging lion is the charging lion. And so, as you sit in your safe room, worrying about a conversation that might happen next week, your heart rate accelerates, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense, and cortisol floods your system. You are commanding your own body to live in a state of emergency, but the emergency is a fiction. You are fighting a war against a phantom army on a battlefield that does not exist. This is the profound exhaustion of anxiety. It is the immense, draining weight of tomorrow, carried on your shoulders today. What is the root of this compulsive future building? It is the ego's desperate, insatiable craving for certainty. We believe that if we can just anticipate every possible negative outcome, we can forearm ourselves against them. We mistake the act of worrying for the act of preparation. We believe the labyrinth of anxious thought is a productive strategy session, but life, in its very essence, is uncertainty. The universe is a dance of chaos and order, of emergence and dissolution. It does not follow a script. To demand a guarantee from life is to argue with the nature of reality itself. It is like demanding that a river cease its flow, that a cloud hold its shape, that a season refuse to turn. This demand for certainty is the source of our constant tension. We are trying to nail the future down, to survey it and map it and control it, so that we can finally feel safe. But safety is not found there. The more you try to control the unpredictable, the more anxious you become. The more you struggle against the current of life, the more you will feel like you are drowning. And so we arrive at the liberating truth, the core message that cuts the cords of anxiety. True peace does not come from knowing what the future holds. It comes from trusting that you can handle whatever the future holds. Read that again in the stillness of your mind. Peace is not a guaranteed outcome. It is a cultivated inner state. The ultimate security is not a predictable future, but a resilient present. It is the quiet confidence that the same intelligence that is beating your heart, growing your hair, and healing your wounds will also be there to meet the challenges of tomorrow. The problem is, you are constantly exporting your power, your energy, your life force into these imaginary futures. You are scattering your resources across 100 different battlefields that exist only in your mind, leaving your true position, the present moment, undefended and anemic. The greatest preparation for the future is to be powerfully and completely present in the now. It is to gather all of your scattered energy from the phantom tomorrows and bring it home, right here, into your body, into your breath. For it is only from the strength of a fully inhabited present that you can gracefully meet whatever comes. To help you practice this retrieval of energy, there is a powerful and practical anchor. It is a tool to pull your consciousness out of the abstract, stormy sea of anxious thought and ground it on the solid land of sensory experience. It is often called the 5 to 4, -3 - 2 to 1 method. When you feel the familiar spiral of anxiety begin, when your mind starts racing into the future, pause, just pause, and then, gently, begin to name, either out loud or in your head, 5 things you can see. Look around you, not with a glance, but with attention. The texture of the wood grain on a table, the way the light catches a dust mote in the air, the precise shade of blue on a book's spine, the delicate vein on a leaf, the crack in the ceiling. Name 5. Then, 4 things you can feel. The solid pressure of the floor beneath your feet, the texture of the fabric of your clothes against your skin, the coolness of a glass of water in your hand, the gentle weight of the air on your face. Feel 4. Then, 3 things you can hear. Listen past the noise in your head, the distant hum of traffic, the ticking of a clock, the sound of your own breathing. Hear 3. Then, 2 things you can smell. The faint scent of coffee, the fragrance of soap on your hands, the smell of rain on the pavement outside. Smell 2. And finally, 1 thing you can taste. The lingering taste of toothpaste, a sip of water, the simple, neutral taste of your own mouth. Taste 1. In the space of a single minute, you have performed a miracle. You have time traveled. You have yanked your entire conscious experience out of a fictional future and slammed it, lovingly, back into the reality of the present moment. This is not a cure, but a practice. It is the practice of coming home, again and again. There is a powerful metaphor for this state. Anxiety is the act of paying interest on a debt you have not borrowed. Your life force, your attention, your precious conscious energy is your only true capital. It is the only currency you have to spend in the only moment that exists, now. Every moment you spend worrying, you are allowing a phantom creditor from the future to take out a high-interest loan against your life force. You are paying, with your peace, with your health, with your vitality, for a catastrophe that has not occurred. You arrive at the end of the day, or the week, or the year, feeling utterly bankrupt, having spent all of your treasure on phantoms. There is another image. You are a builder. Each day you wake up with a finite supply of energy to build the house of your life. Anxiety is the act of spending all day hauling heavy stones for a wing of the house that may never be needed, for a fortress against a storm that may never come. You exhaust yourself carrying these heavy, imaginary stones, and at the end of the day, the actual foundation of your house, the part that needs your attention right now, is neglected and weak. So let this be your invitation. Put down the stones, stop paying the interest, call your energy home. For the future you are so worried about is being created right now by the quality of your presence. A present lived in anxiety can only seed an anxious future. A present lived in trust, in groundedness, in peace, is the only true way to build a worthy tomorrow. We have explored the haunting terrains of the past and the anxious landscapes of the future. We have seen how the mind clings to the stories of yesterday and the fears of tomorrow. Now we must ask the most fundamental question of this entire journey. We must turn the lamp of inquiry away from the what and point it directly at the who. Who is this entity within us that so tirelessly replays old films? Who is this architect of anxiety that builds phantom futures? Who is the one doing all this holding on? We must finally meet the ghost in the machine face to face. We must unmask the tyrant. We call it the ego, the sense of I. For most of us, this I feels like the very center of our being. It is the narrator in our head, the one who thinks, who feels, who remembers, who plans. But what if this I is not the center of our being at all? What if it is a construct, a psychological mechanism that we have mistaken for our true self? The ego is not a physical thing. It is a bundle of thoughts, memories, beliefs, and roles that have been conditioned into us since birth. It begins with a name, a body, and then it gathers possessions. My toy, my house, my job. It gathers achievements, my degree, my success, my reputation, and most potently, it gathers beliefs and opinions, my politics, my religion, my idea of right and wrong. It even gathers pain, my trauma, my grievance, my illness. All of these my's are woven together to create a fictional character, a persona that we present to the world and, more importantly, to ourselves. This character, this ego, is not inherently evil. It is a survival tool designed to help us navigate the complexities of social existence. But its primary strategy for survival is separation. To feel that it exists, the ego must constantly draw lines. This is me, that is you. This is mine, that is yours. This is right, that is wrong. It lives in a world of comparison, competition, and conflict, because without another to define itself against, it feels it would cease to exist. This is why the ego holds on. Holding on is its primary function. To let go of an opinion, a belief, or a story is, for the ego, a terrifying prospect. It feels like a small death. If I am no longer the one who is right, who am I? If I let go of my grievance, my identity as the one who was wronged dissolves. If I am not my past trauma, not my future ambitions, not my carefully curated list of accomplishments and failures, then what is left? The ego's greatest fear is the answer to that question. Its entire existence is a frantic effort to avoid the spacious emptiness of our true nature. It needs to possess things-objects, ideas, stories to feel solid, to feel real. Its fundamental operating principle is, I possess, therefore I am. I am right, therefore I am. I suffer, therefore I am. It is a ghost that believes it is the house, a thought that believes it is the thinker. Here we find the deepest and most persistent of all our inner conflicts. There is a part of you, your essential being, your soul, that craves connection, unity, and peace. It finds its joy not in separation, but in communion. It feels at home in the silent presence of a forest, in the shared laughter with a loved one, in the selfless absorption of creative work. In these moments, the sense of a separate I temporarily dissolves, and you merge with the experience itself. This is the state of flow, of love, of true peace. And the ego perceives this state of dissolution as its mortal enemy. So it pulls you back. It generates a thought, a judgment, a worry. It reminds you of an old argument. It gets offended by a perceived slight. It finds something to resist, something to be against. The ego thrives on drama. It loves to be the protagonist in a conflict. Peace is boring to the ego because in a state of peace, there is no one to be. This is the inner sabotage you have felt your entire life. The part of you that wants to rest in the quiet harbor of being is constantly being hijacked by a mutinous captain who loves the storm because the storm makes him feel important. The most liberating message, The key that unlocks every cage is the realization that this frantic, needy, insecure voice of the ego is not you. It is something that happens in you. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. You are not the character in the story. You are the silent, spacious awareness in which the story is playing out. The moment you can witness your own ego in action, the moment you can observe yourself becoming defensive, needing to be right, feeling self-pity, or puffing up with pride, you have performed the ultimate magic trick. You have separated consciousness from its content. You have stepped outside the prison and are now looking at it from a position of freedom. You are no longer the thought. You are the space for the thought. This awareness does not fight the ego. It does not judge it. It simply sees it. And in the light of being seen, without judgment, the ego's power begins to wither. It is like a shadow that cannot exist in direct sunlight. To cultivate this power of observation, to learn how to unmask the tyrant in real time, we can use a powerful tool of self-inquiry. The next time you feel a strong negative emotional reaction, anger, jealousy, deep offense, defensiveness, pause. Instead of focusing on the external trigger, the person who said the thing, the event that happened, turn your attention inward and ask this specific question. What in me is feeling threatened right now? This question is a precision instrument. It bypasses the surface story, he was rude to me, and cuts directly to the core mechanism. When you sit with this question, the answer is never simply me. The answer is always something more specific, something the ego is attached to. Perhaps the answer is, my self-image as an intelligent person is being threatened, or my belief that I am in control is being threatened, or my identity as a good and kind person is feeling threatened. Do you see what this does? It exposes the ego's attachments. It reveals the invisible strings by which you are being manipulated. It shows you the exact part of your fictional identity that is creating the suffering. This practice shifts you from being a blind reactor to a conscious investigator of your own inner world. Imagine the ego as a petty king ruling over an imaginary kingdom. He sits on a massive, ornate throne of self-importance, wearing heavy robes woven from all his beliefs and opinions. His crown is his sense of being right. The castle he lives in is his life story, and he constantly tells his subjects, anyone who will listen, about its great tragedies and triumphs. This king is pathologically insecure. He lives in constant fear of being overthrown. He sees any differing opinion as an act of treason and any criticism as a declaration of war. He spends all his energy defending the borders of his tiny, imaginary kingdom. He builds walls of resentment and moats of self-pity. But his greatest terror is that one day someone will have the courage to pull back the heavy royal curtain behind the throne and reveal the truth. That the kingdom is not real, the castle is made of clouds, and the king himself is just a small, frightened child, terrified of being seen as ordinary, as nothing special. To let go, to unmask the tyrant, is the act of abdication. It is the decision to stop playing the exhausting role of this insecure king. It is to take off the heavy crown and robes, to walk away from the imaginary throne, and to step out of the castle walls into the fresh, open air of reality. You no longer need to be king of anything. You are free to simply be. We have pulled back the curtain and unmasked the insecure king, the ego, the sense of I that lives in a state of perpetual fear and separation. We have seen that this ego is the one holding on, the one spinning stories, the one terrified of the future. Now we must look at the primary activity of this king, the one great occupation that consumes nearly all of its energy and all of our life force. We must examine the nature of its endless, exhausting, and utterly unwinnable war. The war against reality. Every ounce of your anxiety, your frustration, your resentment, and your despair is a battle in this war. The war is waged with a single, powerful, and toxic phrase that echoes in the mind: silently or screamed, "This shouldn't be happening." That phrase, in all its variations, is the declaration of war. He shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't feel this way. The world shouldn't be like this. It wasn't supposed to turn out this way. Each one of these thoughts is an act of resistance, an argument with what is. Think of it. An event occurs. A diagnosis is given. A relationship ends. A mistake is made. There is an initial sting of pain, which is clean, pure, and a natural part of life. But then, a second layer is almost immediately added by the mind. This second layer is resistance. It is the internal number, it is the friction created by our preference rubbing against the unchangeable fact of the moment. This friction generates immense heat. This is the heat of anger, the smoldering burn of resentment, the cold fire of bitterness. Most of what we call suffering is not the initial pain, it is the prolonged agony of our own resistance. It is the self-inflicted torture of arguing with a reality that has already occurred. You are standing in the rain, getting wet. The rain is the reality. The initial sensation of cold is the clean pain. The suffering is the internal screaming, "It shouldn't be raining, my plans are ruined." This is a disaster. The rain does not care. It continues to fall. Reality never loses an argument. This war is unwinnable because its opponent is invincible. Reality, the state of what is in this very moment, is absolute. It has already won by the simple fact of its existence. To argue with it is as futile as arguing with gravity. You can stand on a chair and declare that gravity shouldn't exist, that you shouldn't fall, but when you step off, you will fall. Gravity does not need to argue back. Your argument is irrelevant to the law of the universe. In the same way, the event that happened in your past is absolute. The feeling that is in your body right now is absolute. The state of the world at this moment is absolute. Pushing against it, denying it, wishing it away, is like pushing against a mountain. The mountain feels nothing. You are the only one who gets exhausted, bruised, and broken. You are waging a war against an opponent that does not even recognize it is in a fight. It is a war waged entirely against yourself. The immense life force that could be used to heal, to create, to connect, to build a new future is instead squandered in this pointless, grinding friction against the immovable wall of the now. The inner conflict, then, is between the ego's script and life's improvisation. Your ego, the insecure king, has written a detailed screenplay for your life. It has character descriptions, plot points, and a very specific ending where everyone behaves as expected and everything turns out perfectly according to its plan. It clutches this script tightly. But life is not an actor following a script. Life is pure, unadulterated improvisation. It is wild, unpredictable, and gloriously, terrifyingly free. When life deviates from the ego's script, which it always does, the ego screams, "Cut! Wrong! That's not your line. This is not the scene." It holds up its script to the face of reality and insists that reality is the one that is wrong. Can you feel the insanity of this position? It is the source of all drama and all victimhood. To feel like a victim is to believe that life was supposed to follow your script, and it has failed in its duty. But life has no duty to follow your script. Its only duty is to be what it is. The conflict is the tension between your rigid expectations and life's fluid, unfolding nature. This brings us to the most misunderstood and yet most powerful concept on the spiritual path: acceptance. In the ego's language, acceptance means defeat. It means weakness, passivity, resignation. This is a profound misunderstanding. True acceptance is not passive. It is an act of supreme intelligence and strategic power. Acceptance does not mean you have to like the situation. It does not mean you condone it. It does not mean you should not act to change it. Acceptance simply means you are willing to see reality as it is, without the distorting filter of your internal argument. It is the courageous act of dropping your useless weapons and looking at the battlefield with clear eyes. You cannot navigate a journey if you refuse to accept your current location on the map. You cannot solve a problem that you refuse to acknowledge in its fullness. Acceptance is the cessation of the unwinnable war so that you can begin the winnable one. It is the act of saying, okay, this is the reality I am facing. These are the facts on the ground. My resistance is only making me weaker. I will stop fighting what is, so that I can channel all my power into creating what can be. The practical tool for cultivating this state of intelligent acceptance is an internal mantra, a short phrase that you can use as an anchor when the waves of resistance threaten to pull you under. The phrase is this: "This is what is." Say it to yourself now. Feel its simple, solid, grounding power. This phrase is not spoken with a sigh of defeat. It is spoken with the calm clarity of a surgeon assessing a wound. It is the dispassionate recognition of fact. When you feel the familiar surge of anger or despair, you pause, you breathe, and you state the fact internally. He said those words, "This is what is. I have this illness in my body. This is what is. I am feeling overwhelming fear right now. This is what is." This phrase is a powerful sword of truth. It cuts through the dense fog of denial, blame, and wishful thinking. It silences the internal argument. It stops the energy leak. It brings you back from the fantasy of how things should be into the raw, workable reality of how things are. From this place of clarity, and only from this place, can effective action be born. Imagine you are in a small boat, caught in a powerful river current pulling you downstream. Your ego, the terrified captain, screams that you are supposed to be going upstream. So, you turn the boat around and rev the engine to its maximum, trying to fight the current. The engine roars. You burn an immense amount of fuel. The boat groans under the strain, and you are filled with stress and panic. But you look at the riverbank, and you are either stationary or, worse, still slowly losing ground. You are exhausted and getting nowhere. This is resistance. Now, imagine a moment of sanity. You cut the engine. You stop fighting. You turn the boat around to face downstream. This is acceptance. You are not giving up. You are not resigning yourself to crashing on the rocks. You are now aligned with the power of the river. The current is no longer your enemy. It is your engine. Now, with small, intelligent movements of the rudder, you can navigate. You can steer toward a safe harbor downstream. You can avoid obstacles. You are using the river's immense power to serve your own journey. You have transformed the entire situation, not by applying more force, but by a simple, intelligent shift in orientation. Stop fighting the river of reality. Turn your boat around and use the power of what is to guide you to where you need to be. We have arrived at a pivotal turning point. We have journeyed through the haunted corridors of the past and the anxious terrain of the future. We have unmasked the ego, the insecure tyrant who wages a constant, unwinnable war against reality. We have seen the profound futility of this war, the immense and tragic waste of life force it entails. We have laid down our arms. We have stopped pushing against the mountain. We have ceased our argument with what is. And now, in the quiet, echoing silence after the battle, a question naturally arises, whispered from the depths of our conditioned mind. So, what do we do now? If we are not to fight, not to resist, not to try and change what is left? The mind, a relentless problem solver, frantically searches for a new strategy, a new plan of action. And here, in this quiet moment, is where we introduce the answer. Here is where we reveal the secret you have been searching for. When all your strategies have failed, when your will is exhausted, when every effort to fix, control, or escape has led you back to the same place of suffering, you must finally do the one thing you have been avoiding your entire life. You must do nothing at all. This is the ultimate action of non-action, the great paradox of healing and liberation. The answer to the question, when nothing else works, what do I do? Is this. You stop doing. You stop analyzing. You stop judging. You stop trying to figure it out. You stop trying to heal. You stop trying to let go. You cease all effort, and you learn to simply observe. This is not the nothing of apathy or laziness. It is the most active, the most courageous, and the most disciplined practice imaginable. It is the practice of pure, choiceless, non-judgmental observation. For your entire life, your mind has been trained to be a fixer. When a negative emotion or a painful thought arises, its immediate, conditioned impulse is to engage. It engages by fighting the feeling. I shouldn't feel this way. By analyzing it, why do I feel this? Where did it come from? By suppressing it, think of something else, quick. Or by indulging it, getting lost in the dramatic story of the feeling. These are all forms of doing. They are all forms of resistance. The path of observation is a radical departure. It is to allow the thought or the feeling to be exactly as it is, and to simply watch it without interfering. To attempt this for the first time is to understand the depth of our own inner restlessness. It feels impossible. The mind will scream for something to do. The urge to latch onto a thought and follow it down a rabbit hole will feel irresistible. A painful sensation in the body will trigger an immediate cascade of fear and resistance. This is the inner conflict, the deeply ingrained habit of doing versus the nascent capacity for being. It is the twitching, frantic energy of the ego, which needs problems and drama to survive, versus the deep, quiet, spacious nature of consciousness itself. Your initial practice of observation will not be peaceful. Your practice will be observing the sheer chaos of your own mind. It will be watching the wild horse of your conditioning buck and pull against the reins of your attention. Do not be discouraged by this. This too is part of the observation. You are simply noticing for the first time the true nature of the untamed mind. You are witnessing the baseline of your own inner state without the usual buffers of distraction. Why is this simple act of watching so powerful? Why is it the ultimate solvent for suffering? The core message is this: pure awareness is, in itself, the agent of transformation. Think of consciousness, your faculty of awareness, as a form of light. And think of your painful emotional patterns, your obsessive thoughts, your deep-seated traumas, as knots of dense, dark energy. For years, you have been trying to untie these knots by pulling at them, by fighting with them, by analyzing their structure. This only makes the knots tighter. The practice of pure observation is to simply shine the light of your awareness onto the knot. You do not try to untie it. You do not judge the knot for being a knot. You simply illuminate it. You hold it in the warm, accepting, non-judgmental light of your own presence. And a miracle happens. The energy that holds the knot together is your own unconscious resistance and identification. When you withdraw these two things, when you stop resisting the feeling and you stop believing the feeling is you, the knot's fuel source is cut off. Held in the light of pure awareness, the dense, dark energy begins to lose its solidity. It begins to loosen, to soften, and to dissolve, all on its own. You are not healing yourself. You are creating the condition in which healing can happen naturally. You are getting out of your own way. To bring this profound theory into your life, the practical application is beautifully simple. Commit to just 5 minutes a day. That is all. Find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. Sit in a chair or on a cushion with your back reasonably straight to encourage alertness. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and state your intention internally. For the next 5 minutes, my only job is to observe. I have nothing to fix, nothing to achieve. Then, Bring your attention to the physical sensation of your breath. Feel the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and the feeling of release as it leaves. This is your anchor. It is your home base. Inevitably, within seconds, your mind will wander. A thought will arise. What should I have for dinner? I can't believe she said that. A feeling will emerge. A wave of boredom, a pang of sadness, a flicker of anxiety. The moment you notice your attention has left the breath, you have already succeeded. That moment of noticing is the moment of awakening. Now, apply a soft, gentle mental label. You don't need to speak it, just a light touch of recognition, thinking, worrying, feeling sad, hearing. The label is not for analysis. It is a tool to acknowledge the content of your mind without getting swept away by it. And then, with no self-criticism, gently, lovingly, guide your attention back to the anchor of your breath. You will do this 10, 50, 100 times in 5 minutes. It does not matter. The practice is not to have a blank mind. The practice is the return. Every single return to the breath is a moment of victory. It is a bicep curl for your consciousness. The guiding metaphor for this entire practice is the sky. Your true nature, the consciousness that is reading these words right now, is the sky. It is vast, open, spacious, silent, and fundamentally peaceful. It is always here. Your thoughts, emotions, memories, and sensations are the weather. The weather is constantly changing. Sometimes it is clear and sunny. Sometimes there are fluffy white clouds. Sometimes there is a dark, violent thunderstorm. Your fundamental error, the source of all your suffering, has been to believe that you are the weather. When a dark cloud of sadness appears, you think, I am sad. When a thunderstorm of anger rages, you think, I am angry. You have identified with the passing phenomena, and so you are tossed about by their turbulence. The practice of pure observation is the act of remembering that you are the sky. You are not the cloud. You are not the storm. You are the vast, silent, accepting space in which the weather happens. The sky does not fight the storm. It does not try to push the clouds away. It does not resent the rain. It simply allows the weather to be what it is, knowing that it has no power to stain or damage the sky itself. Its nature is to allow everything to pass through it. When you know yourself as the sky, you no longer fear the weather. You can watch the storm of your own anger rage with a quiet inner knowing that this too shall pass. You are the stillness that holds the chaos. You are the silence that holds the noise. This is the ultimate action of non-action. This is the discovery of who you are beneath the ceaseless activity of your mind. We have embraced the ultimate action of non-action. We have learned to sit in the silent throne of the observer, watching the weather of our minds pass by. Now, we must refine our focus. We must learn where to direct this powerful healing light of awareness for the most profound effect. For too long, we have been watching the clouds, analyzing their shapes and origins, getting lost in the intricate stories of the sky. It is time to shift our attention from the sky to the earth, from the thoughts in our head to the landscape of our own body. We must move from the abstract story to the raw, visceral, undeniable truth of sensation. This is the journey from the head to the heart and beyond. This is where true alchemy happens. For every story of pain that cycles endlessly in your mind, there is a corresponding physical sensation locked in your body. The story is the echo. The sensation is the source. Consider a moment of deep hurt or anger. The story might sound like this: my friend betrayed my trust. They didn't consider my feelings. I can't believe they did that to me after everything I've done. This is a complex narrative. It involves past history, future implications, judgments, and a strong sense of personal identity. We can spend days, weeks, even years lost in this story. We replay it, we edit it, we tell it to others. We are like a film critic obsessed with a single terrible movie. But while the mind is caught in this narrative loop, what is happening in the body? The story is an abstraction, but the emotion has a physical address. Where do you feel the betrayal? Is it a sharp, stabbing ache in the center of your chest? Is it a hollow, empty feeling in the pit of your stomach? Is it a tense, vibrating tightness in your shoulders and jaw? Is it a burning heat that flushes your face? This is the raw data. This is the truth of the emotion, stripped of all its mental commentary. The story is the smoke. The physical sensation is the fire. To truly put out the fire, you must stop chasing the smoke and attend to the source. Most of us have been trained to live from the neck up. We treat our bodies as inconvenient vehicles whose only purpose is to transport our heads from one meeting to another. We have become profoundly disconnected from the subtle, intelligent language of our own physical form. We ignore its whispers of fatigue until they become screams of burnout. We numb its pangs of sadness with distraction until they manifest as chronic pain or illness. This disconnection is not an accident. It is a defense mechanism. We have learned, subconsciously, that the body is where our unfelt pain is stored. It is a cellar filled with the ghosts of every emotion we were too scared, too busy, or too overwhelmed to feel in the moment. And so, we have locked the cellar door and tried to live entirely on the upper floors, in the bright, conceptual world of thought. But the ghosts in the cellar do not simply disappear. They rattle the foundations of the house. They seep up through the floorboards, creating a pervasive sense of anxiety, depression, and unease. The journey from story to sensation is the act of taking a deep breath, turning the key, and courageously walking down the steps into the cellar, not to fight the ghosts, but simply to meet what is there. This creates a new inner conflict, the battle between the thinking mind and the feeling body. When you try to bring your attention to a painful sensation, the mind will immediately try to reclaim control. It will bombard you with questions. Why is this tightness in my chest? Is it anxiety? Is it grief? Am I having a heart attack? Maybe it's from that argument last week. What does it mean? The mind wants to understand, to categorize, to explain. It believes that if it can find the right label, the right story, it can solve the feeling. But the body does not speak in the language of explanation. It speaks in the language of pure sensation. Heat, cold, vibration, pressure, tightness, openness. The wisdom we are cultivating here is the ability to temporarily suspend the mind's incessant need for a why. The work is to bypass the frantic storyteller and become a humble, curious naturalist, simply observing the inner landscape. Can you be with the raw sensation of tightness in your chest for just 10 seconds without needing to know its name or its origin? This is a profound challenge to the ego, which finds its entire identity in knowing, in thinking, in being the one with the answers. Here we uncover a revolutionary truth about the nature of emotion. The word itself is a clue. Motion, energy in motion. An emotion is not a static object you possess. It is a wave of energy designed to move through your nervous system. Every emotion, joy, grief, anger, fear, has a natural life cycle. It arises, it crests to a peak of intensity, and, if allowed, it subsides and passes, leaving you clearer than before. The only reason emotions become toxic, stagnant, and chronic is because we interrupt this natural flow. We interrupt it with resistance, I shouldn't feel this, and with story, this feeling means I am a broken person. We build a dam, and the river of energy, blocked from its natural course, becomes a swampy, putrid mess. The core message is this: the only way to free the energy is to feel it. To liberate the emotion, you must be willing to meet its raw, physical expression in the body without the filter of the story. When you do this, you are taking down the dam. You are allowing the wave to complete its journey. You are giving the energy permission to finally move on. The most direct and compassionate way to practice this is through a body scan meditation. Find a time and place where you can lie down and be undisturbed for 10 or 15 minutes. Close your eyes. Begin by bringing your full attention to the toes of your left foot. You are not trying to feel anything special. You are simply noticing what is already there. Is there warmth, coolness, a tingling sensation, numbness, pressure from a sock? Whatever it is, just notice. Then, slowly, like a gentle, warm spotlight, begin to move your awareness up your body, your foot, your ankle, your shin and calf, your knee. Take your time. You are an explorer in a new and sacred land, the land of your own body. As you continue up through your legs, your hips, your abdomen, your chest, your back, your arms and your head, you will inevitably encounter areas of sensation. You might discover a knot of tension in your shoulder you weren't aware of. You might find a fluttering nervousness in your stomach. When you find such a place, your instinct will be to recoil, to tense up against it, or to quickly move on. Your practice is to do the opposite. Pause. Instead of pulling away, lean in with your awareness, get curious, and then use the power of your breath. Imagine that you could breathe directly into that knot of tension. Inhale, and imagine your breath carrying warmth, space, and acceptance to that exact spot. Exhale, and imagine the sensation softening, just a little. You are not trying to force it to disappear. You are simply keeping it company with your loving attention. You are saying to that part of your body, I am here with you. You are allowed to be here. Imagine your unfelt emotion is a frozen river inside you. The moment of the original pain was the moment the water froze solid. The story you have been telling yourself about that pain, the blame, the regret, the injustices, the thick grey ice that has kept it frozen for years. You have been living on top of this ice, walking on it, talking about it, analyzing its every crack and fissure. The practice of moving from story to sensation is the courageous act of lying down on the ice. You stop talking, you stop analyzing, and you simply feel the cold, hard reality of it beneath you. And then you bring the sun. The sun is your warm, accepting, non-judgmental awareness. You are not attacking the ice with a pickaxe. That is the way of the mind. You are simply resting your attention there, shining your warmth upon it. And the nature of ice, when held in warmth, is to melt. Slowly, perhaps imperceptibly at first, a drop forms, then another, and soon the rigid, solid structure begins to lose its integrity. The frozen energy begins to flow again. The river is coming back to life. This is not a mental exercise. This is a deep, physical process of thawing. You are feeling your way to freedom. We have taken the courageous journey downward, from the looping stories in the mind into the raw, untamed wilderness of the body. We have learned to sit with sensation, to allow the fire of anger or the ice of grief to be present without running away. A mind accustomed to purpose might now ask, and to what end? Do we simply sit in this discomfort forever? The answer is a resounding no. The act of feeling is not a destination. It is the sacred act of gathering the raw materials. We have brought the lead, the base metal of our pain, to the laboratory. Now, the great work begins. Now, we learn that your body is not merely a storehouse for old wounds. It is an alchemist's crucible, a holy vessel with the power to transmute the heaviest of sorrows into the purest of gold. This is the moment we move from healing to transformation. Alchemy is the ancient, mystical art of transformation, most famously known for its quest to turn base metals like lead into gold. But its true purpose was always a metaphor for the transformation of the human soul. The lead was the dense, heavy, suffering-laden ego. The gold was the radiant, free, and enlightened spirit. The crucible was the vessel where this miraculous change took place. What the ancient mystics knew, and what we are rediscovering, is that this crucible is not some mythical object. It is your own physical body. The heat required for the transformation is not physical fire. It is the focused, unwavering, and loving fire of your own consciousness. When you bring your warm, accepting awareness to a cold, dense knot of pain within your body, you are initiating a profound alchemical process. You are applying a sacred heat. Let us speak of this in the language of energy. Every state has a vibration. The emotions we label as negative fear, shame, grief, resentment are dense, slow, and chaotic energies. They feel heavy because they are heavy, energetically speaking. The qualities of consciousness we are cultivating: acceptance, compassion, love, presence are light, fast, and coherent energies. They feel light because they are light. The fundamental law of energetic alchemy is this: a lower, denser vibration cannot long maintain its form when it is held within a higher, lighter vibration. When you place a knot of fear in the spacious, loving field of your own awareness, the fear cannot sustain its fearful structure. The higher frequency of your loving presence begins to influence the lower frequency of the fear. It does not annihilate it, it uplifts it, it raises its vibration. The dense energy of the pain begins to loosen, to quicken, to transform. It is not destroyed, it is transmuted. The lead is not thrown away, it is turned into gold. The pain of your abandonment, when held in the crucible of your loving presence, is transformed into a profound capacity for self-reliance and compassion. The lead of your failure is transformed into the gold of humility and wisdom. This, however, is where we meet a new inner conflict: the battle between the ego's impatience and the soul's alchemical patience. The ego, the fixer, wants results, and it wants them now. As you sit with a sensation, the ego will keep checking. Is it gone yet? Has it changed? Am I doing this right? It's not working. This impatience is a form of resistance. It is like an alchemist who keeps taking the crucible off the fire to see if the lead has turned to gold yet. All this does is cool down the process and ensure it will never be completed. True alchemy requires a deep and abiding trust. It requires the patience of a gardener who plants a seed and trusts the unseen process of germination, knowing they cannot dig it up every day to check on its progress. You must learn to trust the mysterious, intelligent, and unhurried rhythm of your own inner transformation. Your only job is to keep the crucible on the fire to keep your steady, loving attention on the sensation. You must surrender your timeline to a wisdom far greater than your mind's passant. This leads us to a truth that can change your entire relationship with your life's journey. Your pain is not your enemy. Your suffering is not a mistake. Your deepest wounds are not a sign that you are broken. They are, in fact, your most precious resource. They are the raw material for your awakening. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, has not given you a burden. It has given you a spiritual assignment. It has given you the very lead that you, and only you, can transform into your own unique gold. The places where you feel the most shame, the most fear, the most profound grief, these are not wastelands to be avoided. They are the sites of your sacred work. They are the portals through which the most transformative light can enter. Stop cursing your lead. Stop trying to get rid of it. Begin to see it with new eyes. This is your holy work. This is your magnum opus. Your pain is your potential. To engage in this sacred art directly, there is a simple and beautiful practice that unites intention, touch, and presence. The next time you feel a distinct emotional pain manifesting in your body, that familiar tightness in your throat when you feel unheard, that heavy ache in your heart when you feel lonely, that anxious flutter in your stomach, do this. Gently place one or both of your hands on that part of your body. Let the weight of your hand be gentle and reassuring. For a moment, just feel the simple physical contact, the warmth of your skin on your own body. Now, close your eyes and bring your full intention to your hands. Imagine that your palms are not just flesh and bone, but conduits for the highest frequencies of love and acceptance in the universe. Imagine you are channeling pure, unconditional compassion. You are not trying to fix anything. You are not trying to push the feeling away. You are doing for yourself what you would instinctively do for a small, frightened child who has come to you with a scraped knee. You are offering a steady, silent, comforting presence. You are communicating without words, a simple, powerful message. I am here with you. You are allowed to feel this way. I will not abandon you. Breathe into your hands. With every inhale, draw in peace. With every exhale, send that warmth and acceptance from your hands deep into the center of the sensation. Do this not to make it go away, but as an act of pure love. There is a perfect metaphor for this process in nature. When a grain of sand, an irritant, lodges itself inside the soft flesh of an oyster, the oyster does not have the ability to expel it. It is trapped with its source of pain. The oyster's response is a miracle of transformation. It does not fight the sand. Instead, it begins to coat the irritant, layer by minuscule layer, with its own precious, luminous essence. It secretes a substance called nacre, the very stuff of mother of pearl. Over years of this patient, diligent, non-combative process, the source of constant irritation is transformed into a beautiful, smooth and priceless pearl. The wound becomes the heart of the treasure. Your body is the oyster. The pain, the trauma, the memory is the grain of sand. Your steady, loving, compassionate awareness is the nacre. Your work is not to expel the sand, but to coat it with your love, to wrap it in your presence, layer by layer, breath by breath, day by day. Over time, your greatest wound will become the source of your most profound wisdom, your deepest compassion, your most radiant and resilient strength. You are not broken. You are an alchemist. You are a pearl maker. Now, begin the great work. As we continue the great work in the alchemist's crucible of our body, we will inevitably encounter a substance so dense, so stubborn, so corrosive, that it seems to resist all heat. It is a thick, toxic sludge at the bottom of the vessel. This substance is resentment. It is the energy of unforgiveness. We can work to release our own stories, to calm our anxieties, to transmute our sadness. But if we do not deal with the poison of resentment, we will never be truly free. It will taint every other element. It will corrode the vessel itself. And so, we must now turn our attention to one of the most misunderstood, challenging, and ultimately liberating practices on the human journey, the act of forgiveness. But we must begin by throwing out almost everything we have ever been taught about it. The traditional model of forgiveness is a primary source of our struggle. We have been taught that forgiveness is a saintly, magnanimous gift that we bestow upon the person who has wronged us. It is framed as a moral duty, an act of turning the other cheek, of rising above the fray. This model immediately creates an impossible internal conflict, because every fiber of our being, our innate sense of justice, often screams, but they don't deserve it, they haven't apologized, they would do it again if they had the chance. Why should I give them the gift of my forgiveness? And this sense of justice is not wrong. The ego, as the great scorekeeper of our lives, is absolutely correct from its perspective. To give a gift to one who has harmed us feels like a betrayal of the self, so we refuse. We withhold our forgiveness, believing we are holding it over their head as a just punishment, a righteous weapon, but we have fundamentally misunderstood who is being punished. Here we must introduce a radical, paradigm-shattering truth. Forgiveness is not, and has never been, for the other person. Forgiveness is a pragmatic, and dare we say, a profoundly selfish act. It is the ultimate act of self-preservation. Holding on to resentment and unforgiveness is the spiritual equivalent of drinking a vial of poison every single day and waiting for the other person to die. Who is being harmed? Who is feeling the corrosive acid burn through their system? Who is carrying that toxic, low-vibration energy in their body day after day, year after year? It is you. Unforgiveness is a fire that burns down your own house in the hopes of scorching someone else's. It is a heavy, jagged rock that you choose to carry in your own pack, weighing you down on every step of your journey, simply to have something to throw at another person if you ever see them again. The decision to forgive is the wise, pragmatic, and self-loving decision to stop poisoning yourself, regardless of what the other person does or does not deserve. This is the great inner conflict, the ego's demand for justice versus the soul's desperate cry for freedom. The ego lives in the past and is obsessed with fairness and retribution. It wants the books to be balanced. It needs an apology, an admission of guilt, a sign of remorse. It believes that forgiving the other person lets them off the hook. It feels like you are condoning their behavior, saying that what they did was okay. But your soul, your essential self, lives only in the present. It knows that the past is a memory, and that the only thing being poisoned by the memory is your experience of the now. Your soul does not care about being right. It cares about being free. It does not care about balancing the books of yesterday. It cares about the quality of energy you are bringing to today. You must ultimately choose which you value more, the ego's satisfaction of being right, or the soul's experience of being at peace. You cannot have both. As long as you are clinging to your righteousness, you are sacrificing your peace. The core message, the new definition that you must write into the fabric of your being, is this: forgiveness is the act of cutting the energetic cord. It has nothing to do with the other person. It is a declaration of your own sovereignty. When a traumatic or hurtful event occurs, an invisible energetic cord is formed, binding you to that person and that moment in time. Holding on to resentment is to keep that cord thick and strong, allowing the toxic energy of that past moment to continue flowing directly into your present life. Forgiveness is the act of taking out a sharp pair of scissors and saying, "No more." It is a unilateral decision. It does not require their participation, their permission, or their apology. You are not saying, "What you did was okay." You are saying, "I will no longer allow what you did to have power over me. I will no longer allow the energy of your past actions to contaminate my present reality. I am taking my power back. I am cutting this cord for my sake, for my freedom, for my life." This is not an act of weakness. It is one of the most powerful things you will ever do. To make this internal decision a tangible reality, you can perform a simple but potent ritual: the unsent letter. Set aside a time when you will not be disturbed. Take pen and paper. Address the letter to the person who harmed you. And then pour your heart out. Do not censor yourself. Do not try to be spiritual or evolved. Be brutally, cathartically honest. Unleash the rage, the pain, the disappointment. Tell them exactly how their actions made you feel. Use the strongest language you need to. Fill pages if you have to. The purpose of this first step is not to generate more anger, but to honor the truth of your wound. It is to give a voice to the parts of you that have been silenced and suppressed. Get every last drop of poison out of your system and onto the page. When you feel completely empty, when there is nothing left to say, take a moment, breathe. Then, on a new sheet of paper, or at the bottom of the letter, you will write the declaration of release. It might be something like this: "And now, having honored the depth of my pain, I make a choice. I choose freedom over grievance. I choose peace over being right. I release the need for you to be any different than you are. I release the hope for an apology that will never come, For the sake of my own soul, for the health of my own body, for the clarity of my own mind, I now cut the cord that binds me to you and this pain. I take my energy back, I set myself free. And then comes the final crucial step, the ritual of release. You must destroy the letter. Do not keep it. Burn it safely. And as you watch the pages turn to ash, visualize the energetic cord dissolving into light. Or tear the letter into 100 tiny pieces and release them to the wind or the water. This physical act is a powerful symbol to your subconscious mind that the transaction is complete. The most powerful metaphor for this process is that of a handcuff. To hold on to resentment is to be physically handcuffed to the person who hurt you. Imagine it. You are chained to them, wrist to wrist. You cannot walk freely. You cannot sleep peacefully. You cannot embrace a new person because this other person is always there, attached to you, a constant, heavy, clanking reminder of your pain. You drag their weight through every single day of your life. This is the reality of unforgiveness. Now, for years, you have been screaming at them, demanding that they produce a key to unlock the cuffs. You have begged, you have raged, you have reasoned, but they don't have the key, and you believe you are helpless. Forgiveness is the breathtaking moment of clarity when you happen to put your hand in your own pocket and you feel the cold, hard steel of a key. The key to your freedom has been with you the entire time. The key was never theirs to give. Forgiveness is the act of calmly taking the key out of your own pocket, ignoring the other person completely, inserting it into the lock on your cuff, and turning it. With a quiet click, your shackle falls away. You do not unlock their cuff. You do not ask for their permission. You do not even need to look at them. You simply feel the incredible, shocking lightness of your own arm, and you turn, and you walk away. This is forgiveness. It is the unchaining. It is you, and only you, setting yourself free. We have done the impossible. We have faced the tyrant ego. We have ceased our war with reality. We have felt our way through the frozen rivers of the body, and we have performed the great unchaining of forgiveness. The heavy chains have fallen away. The crushing weight of the past is gone. We stand up, expecting to feel an immediate, soaring ecstasy. We expect the heavens to open, but what often happens instead is something far more perplexing. We feel empty. A vast, silent, unnerving space opens up where the familiar weight of our suffering used to be. The landmarks of our pain, the well-worn grooves of our grievance, the familiar ache of our anxiety have vanished, and without them, we feel strangely lost. The silence that follows the dropping of the chains can be more frightening than the clanking of the chains themselves. This is the void, and learning to embrace this sacred emptiness is the final gate we must pass through on this part of our journey. Do not be alarmed by this feeling. It is a natural and necessary stage of deep healing. For years, perhaps for decades, your identity has been profoundly intertwined with your struggle. You were the one who was recovering, the one who was fighting anxiety, the one who was wronged. Your pain gave you a purpose, a story, a direction, even if that direction was simply away from the pain. Now, the story has ended, the struggle is over, and in its place there is a vacuum. The mind, which abhors a vacuum above all else, will immediately label this state as something wrong. It will call it boredom, depression, apathy, or meaninglessness. It will tell you, this is worse than before. At least then, I had something to fight. At least then, I knew who I was. And the mind will immediately launch a desperate search for a new problem, a new worry, a new story to fill the void. It will try to re-establish a familiar identity because the ego would rather be a defined sufferer than an undefined mystery. This is the great terror of the void. It offers the ego no purchase. The ego is a creature of content. It needs things to define itself against problems, beliefs, identities, stories. In the vast, silent, contentless space of the void, the ego feels it is dissolving. It is facing its own annihilation. And so it will fight back. It will tempt you with the familiar comfort of a new anxiety. It will try to lure you into a new drama. It will whisper, "This emptiness is dangerous. Let's fill it quickly. Let's make a plan. Let's set a goal. Let's find something to be angry about." The inner conflict becomes a battle between the ego's frantic need to fill the space and the soul's quiet invitation to simply be in the space. It is the temptation to immediately start building a new structure on the cleared land versus the profound wisdom of allowing the land to lie fallow for a season, to let its fertility be restored by sun and rain. Here we must receive a core teaching of immense importance. Do not rush to fill the void. This emptiness is not a deficit. It is not a lack. It is sacred. It is the womb of the new. It is the fertile darkness of the soil before the first green shoot appears. It is the pristine silence from which a new and more authentic music can arise. If you rush to fill this space with the frantic activity of your mind, you will almost certainly fill it with a slightly modified version of your old patterns. You will trade one prison cell for another that is merely decorated differently. But if you have the courage to stay with the emptiness, to befriend the silence, to rest in the uncertainty, you create the possibility for something genuinely new to be born. You allow an intelligence far deeper than your thinking mind, the intelligence of life itself, to plant a seed in the fertile ground of your being. To stay with the void is an act of profound faith. It is the ultimate surrender, the final letting go of the need to even know who you are. How do we practice this? How do we befriend this vast emptiness? We practice the high art of sacred idleness, of doing nothing. And this is different from the simple observation we have practiced before. This is even more stripped down. For 10 minutes a day, give yourself this instruction. I will do nothing. I will not try to meditate. I will not focus on my breath. I will not repeat a mantra. I will not try to be spiritual. I will not analyze my feelings. I will not plan my afternoon. My only task is to resist the impulse to do. I will simply sit here and exist. When the feeling of boredom arises, I will not immediately reach for my phone. I will simply notice, this is what the energy of boredom feels like. When anxiety about not being productive arises, I will notice, this is the sensation of a mind that is addicted to doing. You are becoming a connoisseur of the subtle states that arise in the absence of external distraction and internal goals. You are learning to become comfortable in your own skin when there is no problem to solve and no role to play. You are discovering what remains when all the layers of doing are peeled away. Think of the most beautiful piece of music you have ever heard. Its beauty comes not only from the notes themselves, but from the silent spaces between them. It is the pause, the rest, the caesura that gives the notes their emotional power and meaning. Without the silence, the music would be a relentless, meaningless wall of noise. This void you are experiencing is the sacred pause in the symphony of your life. You have finished a long, difficult, and dissonant movement. And now, life has gifted you a grand rest. You must honor it. To rush through this silence is to cheapen the music that came before, and to ruin the power of the music that is yet to come. Rest in the silence. It is what makes the whole composition beautiful. Or, imagine a wise farmer who works a plot of land. After a long season of harvest, the farmer does not immediately plow the field and plant a new crop. He knows the land is tired. He knows its nutrients are depleted. And so, he lets the field lie fallow for a season. To an outside observer, the field looks empty, barren, and unproductive. It looks like nothing is happening. But the wise farmer knows that the most important work is being done. The field is resting. It is absorbing the sunlight, drinking the rain, welcoming the worms and microorganisms that are restoring its vitality. It is a period of quiet, unseen regeneration. This void is your fallow season. Your soul is regenerating. You must trust this unseen process. To force a new crop into the ground right now would be to guarantee a weak and meager harvest. Have the wisdom of the farmer, respect the fallow time. Finally, see this emptiness as a blank canvas. For years, the canvas of your life has been covered with a dark, chaotic and painful painting. Through your courageous work, you have cleaned the canvas. It is now pristine, white and vast. The ego, the fearful artist, sees this emptiness and panics. It wants to immediately grab the familiar muddy colors of fear and worry and start splashing them on just to cover the intimidating whiteness. It wants to paint a new version of the old, familiar painting. The invitation of the void is to put the brush down. It is to step back from the canvas and simply behold its infinite potential. It is to wait for the hand of the divine artist, the creative intelligence of the universe that flows through you, to be the one to make the first, inspired stroke. What will be painted is not for you to know yet. Your job is not to paint. Your job is to be the clean, open, and receptive canvas. Embrace this sacred nothingness. It is the space from which all new worlds are born. We have rested in the sacred void. We have allowed the fallow field of our consciousness to regenerate in the quiet and the stillness. But a field is not meant to lie fallow forever. If you listen closely in the silence, you will begin to hear the stirrings of new life. The first tender green shoots of new possibilities, new desires, and new intentions are beginning to push up through the soil. The critical question now becomes, which of these shoots will you water? Which will you cultivate? Having cleared the land of the old, thorny weeds of the past, you must now learn the art of conscious gardening. You must learn to use the most precious and powerful tool you possess. We are speaking of your attention. For where your attention goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, your life grows. Think of your conscious attention as the most valuable currency you own. It is more precious than your time, because the quality of your time is determined by where your attention is placed. It is more valuable than your money, because you can have all the wealth in the world and still live in a self-made hell if your attention is fixed on misery. Every waking moment you are spending this currency. You are making an investment. When you allow your mind to ruminate on an old grievance, you are investing your life force in the energy of bitterness. When you obsess over a future fear, you are investing your vitality in the energy of anxiety. When you scroll numbly through feeds of outrage and despair, you are investing your sacred attention in the energy of chaos and conflict. And the universe, in its perfect, impersonal logic, gives you a return on your investment. It gives you more of the reality that you are energizing with your focus. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. The reality you experience is not a fixed, objective monolith. It is a quantum field of infinite potential, and it organizes itself around the magnet of your attention. It is a responsive mirror. If you walk through your day with your attention calibrated to notice what is wrong, what is broken, what is missing, then your entire world will seem to be a symphony of wrongness, brokenness, and lack. You will find evidence for it everywhere. The traffic will be worse, the people will be ruder, the news will be more frightening, not because the world has changed, but because you have sent your consciousness on a mission to find proof of a negative reality, and it is ruthlessly efficient at its job. Conversely, if you deliberately calibrate your attention to notice what is good, what is beautiful, what you are grateful for, your experience of that very same day will be transformed. You will notice the stranger who holds the door, the unexpected beauty of a cloud formation, the deep satisfaction of a nourishing meal, the resilience of your own body. The good was always there. The kindness was always there. The beauty was always there. You were simply not investing your attention in it. You are the one who chooses which reality to bring into focus and therefore into being. This requires overriding the mind's default programming. The human mind, for ancient evolutionary reasons, has a built-in negativity bias. It is like a primitive security system, constantly scanning the horizon for threats, dangers, and problems. In a prehistoric world, this was essential for survival. In the modern world, this same mechanism becomes a source of chronic anxiety and dissatisfaction. It is the path of least resistance for the mind to drift towards worry, complaint, and criticism. This is mental entropy. The inner conflict, therefore, is between this lazy, automatic, fear-based drift of the unconscious mind and the disciplined, conscious, and deliberate act of choosing where to place your focus. It takes no effort to find what's wrong with the world. It is the default setting. It takes a gentle but firm act of will to consciously look for the good. This is not about denial or toxic positivity. It is not about pretending problems don't exist. It is about a profound understanding of energetics. It is the wise decision to withdraw your primary investment from the reality you do not wish to grow and to place it in the one you do. The core message is this: you are the director of the camera of your mind. Life is a vast, chaotic, and infinitely complex movie set. On this set, there are scenes of heartbreaking tragedy and scenes of breathtaking beauty happening simultaneously. There are characters filled with malice and characters filled with grace. As the director, you have a sovereign choice. Where will you point the camera? What will you choose to put in the frame? To be an unconscious person is to let the camera swing wildly, focusing on whatever is loudest, most dramatic, and most frightening. To become a conscious creator is to take firm hold of the camera. It is to say, I acknowledge the tragedy over there, but I am choosing to frame this shot on the act of quiet courage over here. You are the one who decides what gets magnified. You are the one who determines the theme and tone of your own film. Letting go of the past was the first half of the work. This is the second half. This is the active, creative part. This is the art of building a new world by first choosing to see it. The practical application of this principle is the daily practice of setting an intention for your attention. When you first wake up in the morning, before you pick up your phone, before you invite the chaos of the world into your mind, take just 2 minutes. Sit in the quiet, take a few deep breaths, and ask yourself this question: what reality do I want to energize today? What do I choose to look for? Then formulate a simple, clear intention. It is not a goal to achieve, but a lens through which to see. It could be, today, my attention will be a magnet for evidence of kindness. Or, today, I will focus on the feeling of my own physical strength and vitality. Or, today, I will look for moments of unexpected beauty. Hold this intention in your mind and heart. Feel it, and then release it and begin your day. This intention now becomes your navigational North Star. When you find yourself stuck in traffic, complaining in your mind, you will remember your intention. I am looking for kindness today. And your mind will be nudged to wonder if perhaps the person in the car next to you is also just trying to get home to a family they love. When you feel a wave of anxiety, you will remember, I am focusing on my own strength. And you will bring your attention to the feeling of your feet on the ground, the steady rhythm of your own heart, a reminder of the resilience that has carried you this far. You are gently, consistently, moment by moment, redirecting your most precious currency. Imagine your life is a great ship sailing on a vast ocean. The winds and the currents are the circumstances of the world. They are powerful, and you cannot control them. Most people feel like they are helpless passengers on this ship, tossed about by every wave, blown about by every gust of wind. They feel they are at the mercy of the ocean, They have forgotten about the rudder. Your attention is the rudder of your ship. It is a relatively small part of the whole, but it holds the power to determine the direction of the entire vessel. By taking conscious control of the rudder of your attention, you are not fighting the ocean. You are not controlling the wind. You are simply choosing your direction within the conditions that exist. You are navigating. You can choose to steer your ship towards the dark storm clouds on the horizon, or you can steer it towards the patch of blue sky. The ocean is the same. The ship is the same. The power is in where you direct it. Or see your consciousness as a single, powerful spotlight in a vast, dark warehouse that contains all things. The warehouse holds everything imaginable: dusty cobwebs, terrifying skeletons, but also chests overflowing with gold, magnificent forgotten paintings, and keys to secret doors. The untrained mind lets the spotlight fixate on the skeletons and the cobwebs. It illuminates its own fears, convincing itself that the entire warehouse is a terrifying place. The practice of conscious attention is the act of seizing control of that spotlight. It is the firm and deliberate decision to swing the beam away from the dust and bones and to intentionally search for the gold. You swing the light, and suddenly, a glimmer, you focus on it, and the chest of treasure is illuminated in all its glory. The skeletons have not disappeared. They are still there in the darkness. But you have withdrawn your light from them. You have withdrawn your energy. You have chosen to illuminate and therefore experience the treasure. This is the power that lies in your hands right now. This is the currency of consciousness. Spend it wisely. We have set our great intention. We have chosen to take hold of the rudder of our attention, to direct the spotlight of our consciousness towards that which nourishes and uplifts us. But theory is one thing, and life is another. Life does not wait for us to be in a calm, meditative state. It ambushes us. A critical email arrives. A loved one speaks a careless word. A car cuts us off in traffic. A sudden wave of fear rises from nowhere. In these moments, our grand intentions can vanish in a flash of reactive fire. All our spiritual understanding can be forgotten in a split second of primal, conditioned response. What we need, therefore, is not just a grand strategy, but a micro-tool. We need a sacred technology for the heat of the moment. We need an emergency brake for the runaway train of the mind. This tool, this technology, is the power of the pause. Between every stimulus and every response, there is a space, a gap, a moment. In the life of an unconscious person, this space is infinitesimally small. It is a hairline fracture, so tiny that it is practically non-existent. The stimulus and the response are fused together into a single, instantaneous event. The critical email arrives, and the defensive reply is typed with trembling fingers. The careless word is spoken, and the sharp retort leaps from our tongue. The car cuts us off, and the horn is blasted in a surge of rage. There is no space. There is no choice. There is only the well-worn, deeply grooved neural pathway of automatic reaction. For years, you have been carving these grooves in your brain. Every time you react in the same way, the groove gets a little deeper. An emotional trigger is like water poured onto this landscape. It has no choice but to flow down the deepest, most established channel. This is not a moral failing. It is simple neuroscience. You have trained yourself, unconsciously, to be a creature of reflex. The path of awakening is the conscious, deliberate work of creating space in that fused moment. It is the act of inserting a wedge of awareness into the tiny crack between stimulus and response and prying it open, first by a fraction of a second, then by a full second, then perhaps by 5. All of our meditation, all our self-inquiry, all our spiritual practice has this one ultimate goal: to widen the gap. Because in that gap, in that sacred pause, is everything. In that space lies our freedom. In that space lies our power. In that space lies the choice to be who we truly want to be, rather than who our conditioning dictates we must be. Your spiritual maturity is not measured by how spiritual you feel when you are sitting on a meditation cushion in a silent room. It is measured by the length of the pause you can create when you are triggered in the midst of your life. The inner conflict here is a battle of speed. It is the lightning-fast, primitive reaction of the animal brain and the nervous system versus the slower, more deliberate, and infinitely wiser response of your higher consciousness. A stimulus occurs, and in less than a heartbeat, the amygdala fires, the body is flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, the muscles tense, the breath shortens. This is the biological cascade of reaction. It is a powerful primal wave designed for physical survival. The work is not to stop this wave. You cannot. The work is to learn how to surf it. The pause is the act of getting on the surfboard. It is the moment you rise above the raw, chaotic energy of the wave instead of being tumbled by it. It is the conscious choice not to be swept away by your own biology. It is the moment you remember that you are not the wave, you are the ocean. This is the core message you must absorb. All of your power is born in the pause. In the space of no reaction, you create a space for a chosen action. In the pause, you can ask a wiser question. Instead of reacting, you can inquire, what is the most compassionate response here? What aligns with my deepest values? What would my highest self do in this situation? In the pause, you can access your resources. You can remember your intention to focus on kindness. You can remember that the person insulting you is likely acting from their own deep pain. In the pause, you can simply choose to do nothing, to let the wave of energy pass through you without being expressed as a destructive word or action. The pause is the portal through which grace enters your life. It is the very definition of freedom. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. Freedom is the ability not to be a slave to your own automatic reactions. So, how do we practice this in the chaos of daily life? The tool must be simple, immediate, and portable. It is this: take one conscious breath. That is all. This is the sacred pause made practical. The next time you feel the flash of a trigger, your heart rate quickens, your face gets hot, you feel the familiar urge to lash out or shut down, your first and only action is to stop. Do nothing externally. Do nothing with your hands. Do nothing with your mouth. Your only action is internal. You take one single deep conscious breath. You inhale, not just air, but you imagine you are breathing in space. You are breathing in time. You feel the air filling your lungs, expanding your chest. You are giving yourself the gift of a single moment. And then you exhale, even more slowly than you inhaled. And as you exhale, you imagine yourself releasing the initial electrical charge of the reaction. You let the worst of the wave's energy pass. This entire process might take 5 seconds, but in those 5 seconds, a revolution occurs. You have broken the chain of automaticity. You have successfully inserted the wedge of awareness between stimulus and response. After that one breath, you may still feel angry. You may still feel hurt, but you are no longer possessed by the anger. You are now the one who is observing the anger. And from that place of observation, you have choice. You might still choose to express your anger, but it will be a conscious expression, not a blind reaction. And that changes everything. Imagine you are driving a powerful car. Your conditioning is the car's automatic transmission. A stimulus appears on the road, and the car instantly, without your consent, slams into gear, either reverse, fear, withdrawal, or drive, aggression, attack. The pause is the act of consciously shifting the car into neutral. The engine of your emotion is still running. You can feel its power vibrating through you, but for one crucial moment, the engine is disconnected from the wheels. The car is in a state of pure, potent stillness. It is not moving backward or forward, it is simply present. From this neutral space, you, the driver, can now survey the situation and consciously choose the appropriate gear. You have reclaimed control from the machine. You are no longer just a reactor, you are a responder. Or think of the space between a sound and its echo. You shout into a vast canyon. The sound travels across a great silent space before it returns to you as a clear, resonant echo. The pause is that vast, silent space. An unconscious reaction is like shouting in a tiny, cluttered closet. The sound comes back instantly, a muffled, distorted, and ugly noise. It has no space to breathe, no silence to give it context. By practicing the sacred pause, you are choosing to step out of the cluttered closet of your reactive mind and into the Grand Canyon of your own awareness. You offer the stimulus of your life into that vast, silent space, and the response that comes back to you will be clearer, wiser, and infinitely more beautiful. It will be an echo of your own deepest nature, not the noise of your conditioning. We have discovered the sacred space of the pause. We have learned to insert a moment of stillness between the world's stimulus and our own response. In this quiet, holy moment, we are free, but free to do what? What action, what new way of being should we choose from this place of power? Our culture, our conditioning, has given us a clear default answer. Be strong, be a rock, be immovable, stand your ground, push through. But today, we are going to look to a different and far more ancient teacher. We are going to look to the wisdom of nature and to its greatest master of both yielding and overcoming. We are going to learn the wisdom of water. For a mind that has been taught to be a rock, learning to be like water is the final key to effortless power and profound peace. Consider the two opposing logics, the logic of the rock and the logic of the water. The ego thinks like a rock. It is rigid, hard, and defined in its form. It believes its strength lies in its unyielding nature. When the rock encounters an obstacle, its only strategy is confrontation. It tries to smash through. If the obstacle is smaller, the rock may succeed, shattering it. But if the obstacle is larger and harder, a mountain, the will of another, the reality of a situation, the rock, in its effort to break the obstacle, is itself broken. It shatters into 1,000 useless pieces. This is the path of brittle strength, of forceful opposition. It is the path of immense effort and frequent catastrophic failure. Now, consider the logic of water. Water is formless, soft, and yielding. When water encounters an obstacle, a great stone in its path, it does not rear up and attack it. It does not try to smash the stone with force. It does not engage in a battle of wills. It does nothing of the sort. It simply yields. It parts, flowing around the stone on all sides, embracing it without struggle. It finds the path of least resistance. It continues its journey, its essential nature completely unchanged by the encounter. This yielding nature is not weakness. It is the source of water's supreme power. The rock, in its rigidity, is easily broken. The water, in its softness, is indestructible. You cannot stab water with a knife. You cannot smash it with a hammer. You cannot grasp it in your fist. Water's strength lies in its refusal to be a fixed thing. And while it yields in the moment, it possesses a persistence that the rock can only dream of. A constant, gentle drip of water, over time, will wear a hole in the hardest granite. The softest element in nature overcomes the hardest, not through a single act of violence, but through patient, relentless, gentle persistence. This is the first great lesson. What cannot be overcome by force can be dissolved by persistence. Stop trying to be the hammer that shatters the stone. Become the water that patiently wears it away. Let us learn more from this master. Water teaches the wisdom of humility. It naturally seeks the lowest ground. Unlike the ego, which constantly strives to be on top, to be higher, to be better than. Water flows effortlessly downward. It does not see the valley as a place of defeat, and in this act of profound humility, a miracle occurs. By seeking the lowest places, all the water from the surrounding lands gathers together. The small, humble streams unite to form great, powerful rivers and vast, deep oceans. Its humility is the very source of its immense, collective strength. It teaches us that true power is often found not in self-aggrandizement, but in quiet service, and the willingness to occupy the spaces that the ego deems lowly. Still, water teaches the lesson of clarity. When water is agitated, stirred up, and turbulent, it becomes murky. It is filled with sediment. It cannot reflect the world accurately. A mind in this state, agitated by anger, fear, and resistances, a muddy mind. It cannot perceive reality clearly. It sees everything through the distorting filter of its own turmoil. But when the water is allowed to become still, the sediment settles. The water becomes crystal clear, and now it becomes a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky, the moon, the trees, with absolute, unflinching precision. It does not judge what it reflects. It does not wish the storm cloud were a sunbeam. It simply reflects what is, perfectly. To be like water is to cultivate an inner stillness so profound that your mind becomes a clear mirror for reality, allowing you to see the truth of a situation without the mud of your own opinions and fears. The inner conflict this presents is between the archetype of the warrior and the archetype of the sage. Our society glorifies the warrior. The warrior faces obstacles head-on. The warrior fights. The warrior conquers. This is the logic of the rock. But there is a deeper, quieter wisdom, the wisdom of the sage. The sage knows that some battles are won by not fighting. The sage knows that the highest victory is the one that requires no battle at all. The sage understands that yielding is a form of power, and that adaptability is the ultimate strength. Your inner warrior, your ego, will scream that flowing around a problem is cowardice, that yielding is admitting defeat. Your inner sage, your water-like consciousness, knows that it is the most intelligent and effective path. It is the choice between exhausting yourself in a pointless fight and conserving your energy to flow gracefully toward your destination. This is the meaning behind the famous wisdom. Be water, my friend. Be formless. Be shapeless. When you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. This is a call to release your rigid identity, your fixed ideas about how you should be and how life should go. It is an invitation to become adaptable. When life puts you in a constricting situation, the cup. Do not fight the walls of the cup. Become the cup. Adapt. Find the freedom within the form. When life presents itself as a complex and winding path, the teapot, become the teapot. Flow through the intricate passages without resistance. To be water is to let go of your attachment to a single form. Your essential nature, your consciousness, is like the H2O. The forms it takes: ice, steam, river, lakeer, temporary conditions. You are not the condition. You are the essence that can adapt to all conditions. We can bring this profound philosophy into our lives with a simple, practical question. The next time you are faced with a blockage, an obstacle, a difficult person, a problem that seems unsolvable after you have taken your sacred pause, ask yourself this: what would water do? This question will change the entire orientation of your mind. The ego's question is always, how can I force this, or how can I win? The water question opens up a universe of new possibilities. What would water do with a great wall in its path? It would not try to knock it down. Perhaps it would begin to pool, patiently, quietly, until its level rose so high that it simply spilled over the top. Or perhaps it would find a tiny, unseen crack at the base of the wall and begin to seep through molecule by molecule. Or perhaps it would simply be still, reflecting the wall, and wait. Or perhaps, under the heat of the sun, it would transform. It would evaporate into vapor, float invisibly over the wall as a cloud, and condense back into water on the other side. Do you see? The solutions that water presents are creative, intelligent, and non-confrontational. They are solutions of elegance, not brute force. So, let this be your new way of being. Release the need to be the rock. The world is full of rocks, and they are all eventually broken. Embrace the nature of water. Be soft, yet persistent. Be yielding, yet unconquerable. Be humble, yet powerful. In your relationships, in your work, in your inner life, when you meet resistance, do not meet it with more resistance. Meet it with flow. Soften, adapt, find the other way. This is not passivity. This is the highest form of intelligent action. You are aligning yourself with the most powerful and creative force in the universe. You are learning to move with the Tao, with the natural way of things. You are learning to stop fighting the river and to become the river itself. We have explored the beautiful, yielding wisdom of water. We have learned to be formless, to be adaptable, to flow around the obstacles of our lives with grace and intelligence. And yet, the mind, in its cleverness, can misinterpret this teaching. It can hear the call to be fluid and translate it into an excuse for passivity, for laziness, for a life without structure or intent. It can believe that going with the flow means being a powerless leaf tossed about in the current. This is a profound misunderstanding. The river, our great teacher of flow, is not just water. A river is water and banks. Without the banks, the water has no direction, no depth, no power. It is just a swamp. To truly embody the power of water, we must now turn our attention to the necessity of building the banks. We must speak of the paradox and power of discipline. The word discipline lands heavily in the modern mind. We immediately associate it with punishment, with harsh restriction, with the joyless denial of our desires. We see it as the opposite of freedom. We imagine a cage, and we believe discipline is the bars of that cage. This is the first belief we must dismantle. This is a lie we have told ourselves to justify our slavery to impulse. Let us redefine discipline. The root of the word is discipulus, the Latin for pupil or student. To be disciplined is simply to be a good student. A student of what? A student of your own highest self. A student of the life you truly wish to live. True discipline is not an act of self-punishment. It is an act of supreme self-love. It is the decision to align your momentary actions with your deepest, long-term values. It is the practice of choosing who you want to be over how you happen to feel in any given moment. Here we confront the great paradox of freedom. The person who lives a life without discipline, who prides themselves on their freedom to do whatever they want whenever they want, is often the most profound slave. They are a slave to every passing whim, a slave to the craving for junk food, a slave to the urge to procrastinate, a slave to the flash of anger triggered by a stranger, a slave to the anxieties whispered by the news. They are a slave to their own untamed mind and unexamined emotions. Their freedom is a complete lack of self-possession. They are a boat without a rudder, entirely at the mercy of the winds of circumstance and the currents of their own biology. Now, consider the person who has the discipline to wake up early to sit in silence, even when they are tired. The person who has the discipline to eat nourishing food, even when they crave sugar. The person who has the discipline to hold their tongue, even when they are burning with a sharp retort. Who is truly free? The one who is mastered by their every impulse, or the one who has mastered their impulses? The freedom you seek is not the freedom to do anything. It is the freedom from being controlled by anything, especially the chaos within yourself. Think of your mind and your life force as a wild, powerful horse. It is magnificent, full of energy and potential. A life without discipline is to simply let this horse run wild. It will bolt at every sudden noise, chase every fleeting distraction, and eventually run itself, and you, into exhaustion and peril. This is not freedom, it is chaos. Discipline is the patient, compassionate art of becoming the rider. It is the daily practice of approaching the horse, of building a relationship of trust. It is the gentle but firm placement of the bridle of mindfulness and the saddle of intention. The purpose of this is not to break the spirit of the horse. The purpose is to partner with it, to unite your wisdom with its energy, so that together you can travel incredible distances with purpose, speed, and grace. Discipline is what unites the rider and the horse into a single, effective being. The core message is this: discipline is not the cage. Discipline is the master key that unlocks every cage. All the tools we have discussed are disciplines. The practice of observing your thoughts is a discipline. It frees you from the tyranny of your thoughts. The practice of creating a pause between stimulus and response is a discipline. It frees you from the slavery of reactivity. The practice of consciously choosing your focus is a discipline. It frees you from the gravity of negativity. The structure does not limit your power. It is the very thing that channels it. A scattered pile of gunpowder, when lit, creates a brief, harmless flash. The same gunpowder, when contained within the disciplined structure of a cartridge, can move a mountain. Your life force is that gunpowder. Discipline is the structure that gives it its power. Your disciplined practices are the banks you are building for the river of your own consciousness. Without them, you are a swamp. With them, you become a force of nature. So how do we build this muscle of discipline, especially when it feels so atrophied? We do not begin by trying to lift 1,000 pounds. We begin with one. You must prove to yourself that you are capable of keeping a promise to yourself. You must build self-trust. The practice is to choose one single, small, non-negotiable keystone habit. The key is that it must be so small that the excuse "I don't have time" is laughable. It could be 5 minutes of sitting in silence every morning before you touch your phone. It could be writing down 3 specific things you are grateful for every night before you sleep. It could be reading one single page from a book of wisdom each day. It could be the discipline of making your bed every morning. The act itself is less important than the meta-act of consistently doing it. Choose one and commit to it for 30 days. There will be days you do not want to do it. Your mind will produce 1,000 excellent reasons to skip it just this once. These are the most important days. On these days, when you do it anyway, you are casting a powerful vote for the new version of yourself. You are telling your subconscious mind that your commitment is stronger than your mood. You are proving that you can be trusted. This small, consistent victory will build a foundation of self-respect that will begin to ripple out, making it easier to be disciplined in all other areas of your life. Let us return to the image of the master musician. We see a great violinist on stage. They close their eyes, and the music that flows from their instrument is pure freedom. It is passion, sorrow, joy, and longing made audible. They are the picture of effortless, creative liberation. But this freedom was not born from a life of ease. This sublime freedom is the fruit of a lifetime of discipline. It was born from thousands of hours of practicing scales, of repeating difficult passages until their fingers were sore and their mind was numb. It was born from showing up to practice on the days they felt uninspired, on the days they felt frustrated, on the days they wanted to do anything else. Their discipline did not crush their artistry. It was the very thing that made it possible. Because they devoted themselves so completely to the discipline of their craft, the instrument became an extension of their own body. They no longer have to think about the technique. The discipline has become so ingrained that it is now unconscious, freeing their conscious mind to focus purely on the soul of the music. Your life is your instrument, your mind is your instrument. Your daily disciplines are the scales you must practice. At first, it may feel tedious and mechanical, but through your persistent, loving practice, you will achieve a mastery over your own inner world, so complete that your life, too, will become a work of art, a masterpiece of authentic, effortless, and disciplined freedom. We have established the profound importance of inner discipline. We have learned to build the banks for the river of our consciousness, giving it direction, focus, and power. Now, we must take a crucial step further. We must explore the sacred relationship between our inner world and the outer world. What is the connection between the state of our soul and the state of our life? How does the inner work we do, observing our minds, calming our emotions, choosing our focus, actually influence the events and circumstances we encounter? To understand this, we must dismantle one of the most disempowering beliefs held by humanity and replace it with a liberating, foundational truth. We must cease to see the universe as a judge and learn to see it as a mirror. For millennia, we have projected our own human psychology onto the cosmos. We have imagined a universe that operates like a human ego, a universe that judges, that keeps score, that rewards and punishes. We have created gods in our own image, complete with anger, jealousy, and a need for obedience. We have conceived of karma as a vast cosmic legal system, a celestial courtroom handing out sentences for crimes committed in lives we cannot remember. This belief system, while born from a genuine desire to find meaning and order, has a devastating side effect. It casts you in the role of a powerless subject. You become either a child hoping for a reward from a cosmic father, or a defendant awaiting sentencing from a cosmic judge. In either role, the power is outside of you. You are at the mercy of a vast external force whose motives you can only guess at. This is the bedrock of the victim mindset. Today, we shatter that paradigm. The universe is not a punitive father. Karma is not a cosmic judge. The universe is a perfect, flawless, and utterly impersonal mirror. It has no opinion of you. It has no agenda for your life. It does not decide if you are good or bad. Its only function is to reflect, with breathtaking precision, the energy, the vibration, the state of consciousness that you are emitting. It does not give you what you want with your mind. It gives you what you are with your being. This is the great secret of all mystical traditions, the core of the law of attraction, and the true meaning of karma. Karma is not a moral law. It is a law of physics, as neutral and impersonal as gravity. The law is simply this: that which you send out, you receive back. The sending out is not primarily your actions or your words. The sending out is the dominant frequency of your inner state. If your inner world is defined by a feeling of lack, by a constant focus on what you don't have, your being is vibrating at the frequency of not enough. The mirror of the universe, in its perfection, must then reflect back to you circumstances that feel like not enough. Opportunities will seem scarce, money will be tight, relationships will feel unsatisfying. If your inner state is dominated by conflict, by resistance to reality, by a feeling of being at war with yourself and the world, you are emitting the energy of a battle. The mirror must then reflect back a battlefield. You will encounter argumentative people, frustrating obstacles, and situations that feel like a constant struggle. Conversely, if through your inner work you cultivate a state of genuine peace, of trust, of gratitude for what is, you are emitting a high, coherent frequency. The mirror of the universe must, by law, reflect back circumstances that are resonant with peace, trust, and gratitude. This is not a reward, it is a reflection. This understanding initiates a profound inner conflict between two possible identities: the victim versus the co-creator. The victim stands before the mirror of their life, points a finger at the reflection, and says, "This is wrong." That reflection is ugly and unfair. Life is happening to me. The victim spends their life trying to argue with the mirror, trying to fix the reflection, blaming the mirror for what it shows. It is an exhausting and futile endeavor. The co-creator stands before the same mirror, looks at the same reflection, and understands the principle. They say, "This reflection is a perfect and valuable piece of feedback. It is showing me, with flawless accuracy, the state of my own inner world. My life is happening through me." This is the ultimate act of taking responsibility. It is terrifying for the ego, which loves to blame external forces, but it is the only possible path to true freedom and power. As long as you believe the problem is out there, you are powerless. The moment you realize the source of the reflection is in here, you reclaim your power to change it. The core message, the one that will liberate you if you truly allow it to sink in, is this: to change your life, you must stop trying to change the mirror. You must change yourself. All the inner work we have been discussing is not just a form of spiritual hygiene to make you feel better. It is the definitive work of changing the image you are presenting to the cosmic mirror. Every time you successfully pause instead of reacting, you are changing the reflection. Every time you choose to focus on gratitude instead of lack, you are changing the reflection. Every time you transmute a dense feeling of fear into acceptance within your own body, you are fundamentally altering the energetic signal you are sending out. And the mirror must eventually show you a different picture. The change in your external world is a lagging indicator of your internal transformation. First, you become peace, and then you find peace. First, you become love, and then you find love. First, you cultivate a sense of inner abundance, and then the world finds ways to reflect that abundance back to you. The cause is internal. The effect is external. There is no other way. This transforms every single event in your life from a potential attack into a valuable communication. It gives you a practical tool to turn every challenge into a teacher. The tool is to change the question you ask. The victim asks, "Why is this happening to me?" This question is a dead end. It is rooted in powerlessness and presumes an external persecutor. It leads only to bitterness and self-pity. The co-creator, when faced with a difficulty, a painful situation, or a recurring negative pattern, asks a completely different set of questions. They ask, with genuine non-judgmental curiosity, "What is this situation reflecting back to me? What belief am I holding that is making this reflection appear? What part of my inner state is being shown to me in the outer world? What is the universe trying to help me learn about myself through this experience?" Can you feel the immense power shift in that new set of questions? It yanks the locus of control from the external world and places it firmly back within you. An argument with your partner is no longer just their fault. It becomes a reflection of your own inner conflict or your own need to be right. A financial struggle is no longer just bad luck. It becomes a reflection of a deep-seated belief in lack or unworthiness. A recurring health issue becomes a reflection of unfelt emotional energy stored in the body. Life is no longer a random series of events. It becomes a perfectly intelligent, responsive, and compassionate feedback system, constantly guiding you back to the places within yourself that need healing and alignment. Imagine you are looking in a mirror and you see a smudge of dirt on the cheek of your reflection. The victim's approach is to get angry at the mirror. They might try to scrub the reflection, to wipe the dirt off the glass. They will become increasingly frustrated as the smudge stubbornly remains because it is not on the mirror. The co-creator looks at the reflection, sees the smudge, and understands its function. They realize the mirror is simply showing them something about themselves. They turn their attention away from the mirror, reach up to their own cheek, and gently wipe away the smudge. Then they look back at the mirror, and what do they see? A clean, clear, radiant reflection. The entire universe is this mirror. Stop trying to scrub the reflection. Your work is not out there. Your work is, and has always been, right here, within you. We have journeyed far. We have learned to observe the mind, to inhabit the body, to wield our attention as a creative force, and to understand the universe as a perfect mirror of our inner state. We have practiced the discipline of letting go, of releasing our grip on the stories and pains that have defined us. And in this practice, we have found moments of profound freedom and relief. But now, we stand before a final, subtle doorway. We are asked to take the ultimate step, to make the last turn of the key that dissolves the very mechanism of struggle itself. We are asked to evolve from the action of letting go into the state of letting be. This may seem like a minor distinction in language, but within it lies the entire difference between a peace that must be constantly managed and a peace that is inherent, indestructible, and absolute. Let us examine the act of letting go. It is a beautiful and necessary practice on the path. It implies that we are holding on to something, a belief, a grievance, a fear, and we are consciously choosing to perform an action of release. We open the fist, we drop the heavy stone, we cut the energetic cord. This is powerful work. Yet, if we look very closely, we can see that even within the act of letting go, there can be a subtle residue of effort. There is still a me who is letting go of my problem. The ego, in its infinite cleverness, can hijack this very process. It can turn letting go into another spiritual project, another task at which it must succeed. It can create a new form of striving. Am I letting go correctly? Why isn't this feeling gone yet? I must not be good at this. And in this striving, a subtle tension remains. The act of trying to get rid of something, even a negative feeling, is itself a form of resistance. It is a subtle non-acceptance of what is present in this moment. It is saying, this feeling should not be here, and I am going to perform an action to make it leave. Letting be is the final surrender. It is the cessation of all spiritual doing. It is not an action you perform, but a state you relax into. It is the profound recognition that your peace is not dependent on the content of your mind or the feelings in your body. Letting be looks at the anger, the fear, or the sadness, and instead of saying, I will now let you go, it says with a deep and restful sigh, you are allowed to be here. There is no agenda for it to change. There is no desire for it to leave. There is no judgment of it for being present. It is the radical, unconditional permission for the entire contents of your present moment experience to be exactly as they are. In this state, the inner war is truly over, because you have even stopped fighting your own feelings. The inner conflict here is the most subtle one we have faced. It is the conflict between the spiritual ego, the part of us that is trying to be a good spiritual practitioner, and the silent, ever-present reality of our own being. The spiritual ego wants to achieve a state of peace. It wants to have a clear mind and a calm heart. It sees negative thoughts and difficult emotions as obstacles to this goal. Therefore, it engages in the project of letting them go. But our true nature, the vast, open consciousness that you are, is already at peace. It is already clear. It is not afraid of any thought or emotion. It is like the sky, which is not afraid of the weather. Letting be is the shift from identifying with the spiritual ego, who is trying to manage the weather, to resting as the sky itself, which effortlessly contains all weather. The striving stops. The need to achieve a certain state dissolves. And in that dissolution, the peace you were striving for is revealed to have been here all along, hidden beneath your very effort to find it. This leads to the ultimate reframing of peace. We have been conditioned to believe that peace is the absence of something, the absence of noise, the absence of conflict, the absence of fear. But this is a fragile, conditional peace. It is a peace that can be shattered at any moment by a loud noise, a difficult person, or a scary thought. The peace we are now discovering is an unconditional peace, It is not the absence of anything. It is the presence of everything, held in a container of loving awareness. True, indestructible peace is not an empty mind. It is a mind so spacious that it can hold both joy and sorrow, certainty and doubt, love and fear, without being threatened. It is realizing that you are not the furniture in the room of consciousness. You are the room itself. The room's existence, its silent, spacious presence, is not disturbed by whether the furniture is neat or messy, beautiful or ugly. Letting be is the act of finally ceasing your frantic attempts to rearrange the furniture and instead resting as the silent, unmovable room. The practice of letting be is woven into the fabric of your day. It is a series of micro-surrenders. You are at your desk, and a car alarm begins blaring outside. The conditioned reaction is resistance, an inner no, a wish for the noise to stop. The letting go practice might be to observe your annoyance and release it. The letting be practice is even more simple and profound. You drop all inner commentary. You allow the sound of the alarm to simply be sound. You let it enter your field of awareness and leave it without the friction of your resistance. You allow the sound to be. A wave of sadness arises from nowhere. The old habit is to fight it or distract yourself. The letting go practice is to breathe and release it. The letting be practice is to say, internally, sadness is here now. It is allowed to be here. There is space for it. You drop the entire agenda for it to leave. And in this radical allowing, the sadness, held in a space of non-resistance, is able to move through you gracefully, without becoming a chronic state of suffering. Let us return to our metaphor of the bird. Letting go is the beautiful, liberating action of opening your clenched fist and releasing a bird you have been holding captive. You watch it fly away, and you feel free. This is a vital stage. But letting be is the next, more profound realization. It is the recognition that you were never the hand holding the bird in the first place. You are the vast, open sky. The bird was never your captive. It was always free to fly through the space of your awareness, to land on a branch of a thought, to rest for a while, or to depart. Your inherent nature is this vast, open sky which allows all things, all birds of thought and feeling to come and go without possessing or resisting them. You are the context for the entire drama, not the character struggling within it. Imagine your hand in one of three states. The first is a clenched fist. This is holding on, the state of unconscious suffering. The second is a hand that is actively and forcefully pushing something away. There is tension in this hand. There is effort. It is trying to get rid of something. This is the subtle effort that can exist within letting go. The third state is a hand that is simply open and relaxed. It is not grasping. It is not pushing. It is just open. It is receptive to the rain. It can feel the breeze. A butterfly could land on it, or a leaf could fall into it. It can receive, and it can release with equal ease, because it is not attached to any outcome. It is in a state of pure, unconditional allowing. This open hand is the state of letting be. It is the end of the war. It is the homecoming. It is the peace that surpasses all understanding, because it is a peace that does not require your understanding to exist. It simply is, and you are that. We have arrived at a place of profound stillness. We have evolved from the effort of letting go to the graceful surrender of letting be. Resting in this state of pure, unconditional allowing, we begin to notice something extraordinary. As we cease to identify with the passing weather of our thoughts and emotions, we become aware of the sky. As we cease to be tossed about by the waves on the surface of the ocean, we become aware of the vast, silent, unmoving depths. What is this silent depth? What is this ever-present sky? To become aware of this is to discover the greatest secret of your own being. It is to find the key to a door you never knew existed, a door that opens into the unbreachable sanctum of your own soul. It is to discover your inner sovereignty. For your entire life, You have been taught to identify with the most peripheral, fragile, and temporary aspects of yourself. You have been taught that you are your body, which ages and sickens. You have been taught that you are your thoughts, which are chaotic and contradictory. You have been taught that you are your emotions, which are as turbulent and unpredictable as the weather. You have been taught that you are your story, a collection of memories of triumphs and traumas. This peripheral self, this personality construct, this ego, is by its very nature vulnerable. It can be insulted, it can be harmed, it can be frightened, it can be lost. And because you believe that this fragile construct is all that you are, you live in a state of perpetual, low-grade fear, trying to protect this vulnerable identity from the inevitable challenges of life. But what if that is not the true you? What if that entire personality, with all its history and all its fears, is just a character you have been playing? What if your true identity is not the character, but the silent, formless, timeless awareness that is watching the character play its part? This is the great discovery. Beneath the noisy, ever-changing surface of your life, there is a core of your being that is utterly silent, completely peaceful, and absolutely indestructible. It is the pure consciousness that was present to witness your first breath and will be present to witness your last. It has no name, no form, no age, no gender. It has no opinions to defend, no wounds to protect. It is the I am that exists before you add any label to it. I am John, I am Jane, I am a success, I am a failure. It is the pure, unblemished screen on which the movie of your life is projected. This is your inner sanctum. This is the seat of your sovereignty. This discovery brings forth a new inner conflict. The deeply ingrained habit of feeling vulnerable versus the dawning radical truth of your own invulnerability. The mind, the ego, will fight this realization with all its might. It will protest, "What are you talking about? My pain was real. My trauma was real. I was harmed." And the teaching is not to deny the reality of that pain. The pain felt by the character in the story was absolutely real. The suffering of the peripheral self was undeniable, but it was not the true you who was harmed. The true you, the silent, sovereign consciousness, was the one who witnessed the pain. It witnessed the trauma, it witnessed the fear, but it was never, for one single moment, stained or damaged by it. It held that experience within its compassionate embrace, just as the sky holds the storm, without being scarred by the lightning. To realize this is not to invalidate your suffering, it is to finally put it in its proper perspective. It was something that happened to the character you were playing, not something that defined the essence of who you are. The core message, the one that establishes you as the monarch of your own life, is this: nothing and no one can enter your inner kingdom without your permission. You are the absolute sovereign of your own consciousness. The outer world can be chaotic, people can be cruel, circumstances can be challenging, but none of it can cause you to suffer unless you, the sovereign, grant it entry. How do you grant it entry? By believing the thoughts that arise in response to the event, by identifying with the emotions that are triggered, by giving these visitors your attention, your energy, and the authority of your belief. A negative comment from another person is just sound waves hitting your eardrum. It is powerless. It only becomes a source of suffering when you grant it entry into your kingdom. Believe the thought, "That person insulted me, and that means I am less," and identify with the feeling of shame or anger. You are the gatekeeper. When you truly, deeply realize this, you stop trying to control the uncontrollable outer world. You stop trying to police what other people say or do. That is a futile and exhausting task. Instead, you turn your attention to the one and only thing you have absolute control over, the gate of your own inner kingdom. You become the master of your own domain. To cultivate this sense of inner sovereignty, you can practice the art of returning to your throne. This is a simple, powerful visualization that you can do at any moment throughout your day, especially when you feel pulled off center, scattered, or overwhelmed. Pause for just a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Take one deep breath, and with your exhale, imagine your awareness dropping down from the noisy chatter in your head into the deep, quiet center of your being, your chest, your solar plexus, your gut. And in this inner space, visualize your sanctuary. For you, it might be a majestic throne room where you are the calm, wise, and undisputed ruler, seated upon your throne of presence. For another, it might be a silent, ancient, walled garden filled with peace and beauty where nothing can harm you. For another still, it might be the heart of a great, unmoving mountain. Whatever the image, create your inner sanctum. Spend just 30 seconds there. Feel the unshakable peace. Feel the absolute security. Feel the quiet power that resides in this inner space. Remind yourself, this is my true home. This stillness is my true nature. The chaos is outside the walls. In here, I am sovereign. In here, I am safe. Then, open your eyes and carry that feeling of centered, sovereign peace with you as you re-engage with the world. Let us use the metaphor of the mountain. You are not a fragile tent pitched on the slopes, at the mercy of the wind and the snow. You are the mountain itself. Imagine yourself as a great ancient mountain. Your roots go deep into the core of the earth. Your peak touches the sky. For millions of years, you have sat in silent, majestic presence. You have witnessed everything. You have had countless storms rage upon your slopes, blizzards that bury you in snow, thunderstorms that scar you with lightning, gale-force winds that howl through your valleys. You have also felt the gentle warmth of a million sunrises, the cool blanket of fog, the soft touch of the rain. The weather is the ever-changing circumstances of your life, your emotions, your relationships, your successes, your failures. As the mountain, you feel the weather. You are not numb to it. You feel the cold of the snow and the heat of the sun. But you are not defined by it. You are not afraid of it. Your deep granite core is utterly unmoved. 100-year storm is to you a fleeting event. You know that it will pass. You know that the sun will shine again. Your identity is not in the temporary weather on your surface, but in your deep, abiding, unshakable mountainness. This is your sovereignty. This is your unbreachable sanctum. The weather of your life cannot harm the mountain that you are. Rest in your own unshakable majesty. We have returned to the unbreachable sanctum of the self. We have discovered the silent, sovereign mountain of our being that remains unmoved by the passing weather of our lives. As we learn to abide in this inner sanctuary more and more, a subtle but profound transformation begins. It is not just our mindset that changes, it is our very substance. The energetic signature of our being begins to shift. Like a bell that has been cleared of mud and rust, we begin to ring with a new, clearer, and higher tone. And by the fundamental laws of the cosmos, when the note you are broadcasting changes, the reality that resonates with you must also change. This is the great secret of living from a higher vibration. Everything in the known universe, from the chair you are sitting on to the thoughts moving through your mind, is not solid matter. It is energy, and all energy is in a constant state of vibration. Our thoughts and feelings are not just abstract psychological events, they are tangible, energetic frequencies. The emotions of fear, shame, grief, and anger are dense, slow, chaotic vibrations. They feel heavy because, in an energetic sense, they are. They lower your overall frequency. The states of being you have been cultivating peace, acceptance, compassion, and love are high, fast, coherent vibrations. They feel light because they are. Your personal vibration is simply the dominant, average frequency of the state you inhabit most often. For years, you may have been living in the basement of your energetic potential, habituated to the low frequencies of survival and struggle. The work you have been doing is a process of climbing the staircase, of reacclimating yourself to the light and space of the upper floors. This leads us to the universal principle of resonance. Like attracts like. This is not a New Age fantasy, it is a law of physics. If you strike a tuning fork that is tuned to the note of C, another C-tuned tuning fork across the room will begin to vibrate in sympathy, while a fork tuned to the note of G will remain silent. They are not on the same wavelength. The same is true for consciousness. When your dominant energy is one of conflict and frustration, you are a tuning fork for conflict. You will find yourself mysteriously resonating with frustrating people, attracting dramatic situations, and perceiving the world through a lens of struggle. You are simply not in tune with peaceful, graceful experiences. But as you do the inner work, as you release the dense energies of the past and learn to abide in your own peaceful core, you are fundamentally changing your pitch. You are retuning yourself to the frequency of peace, of clarity, of love. And as you begin to vibrate at this higher frequency, the world around you must, by law, begin to change its tune in response. This transition, however, can bring its own unique inner conflict. When you have spent a lifetime carrying the heavy weight of your past, the sudden absence of that weight can be deeply disorienting. The new lightness of being can feel unfamiliar, even ungrounded. The ego, which was so accustomed to the familiar density of problems and drama, can feel bored or anxious in this new, peaceful state. It might even try to subconsciously recreate conflict just to feel the familiar gravity of a problem to solve. Things are too quiet, it might whisper. Something must be wrong. You must be patient and compassionate with this part of yourself. It is like a prisoner who has spent 50 years in a dark cell and is suddenly brought out into the sunlight. The light is painful at first. The open space is terrifying. There is a part of them that longs for the familiar, predictable misery of the cell. Your job is to gently reassure that part of yourself, to let it know that this new lightness is safe, that this peace is your true home. The core message, which unites the principle of the mirror with the law of vibration, is this: the universe does not give you what you want, it resonates with what you are. Your job is not to chase after a better life, a better relationship, or a better job. Your job is to become the vibrational match for the reality you desire. You cannot create a peaceful life while harboring a war within yourself. You cannot experience a loving world while vibrating with the energy of judgment and resentment. The work is always an inside job. You become the peace you wish to see. You embody the love you wish to receive. You cultivate the inner sense of abundance you wish to experience externally. You are a broadcasting tower, and your life is the set of programs that can receive your signal, change the signal, and you will begin to pick up entirely new channels. The most direct and powerful practice for consciously raising your energetic frequency is the alchemy of gratitude. Gratitude is far more than a polite social custom or a mental exercise of listing things you are thankful for. True gratitude is a full-body, high-frequency state of being. It is the ultimate antidote to the low frequencies of lack and despair. It is the master key that attunes you to the reality of abundance that is already all around you. Here is the practice. Do not just think about what you are grateful for. Feel it. Choose one simple thing: the feeling of the air entering your lungs, the warmth of the sun on your face, the taste of a sip of water, the memory of a loved one's smile. Now, close your eyes and bring all of your attention to that one thing. Isolate it, and then summon the feeling of gratitude for it. Where do you feel this gratitude in your body? Is it a warmth that spreads from your heart? Is it a tingling sensation? Is it a feeling of expansion, of your chest opening up? Latch onto that physical sensation And then, with your intention, amplify it. Allow that feeling of gratitude to grow, to intensify, to expand until it fills your entire body, from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head. Drench every single cell of your being in the pure, high-frequency energy of appreciation. A mere 60 seconds of this deep, embodied gratitude can completely reset your energetic state for hours. It is the fastest way to tune your instrument. Let us use the metaphor of a guitar. For most of your life, you have been a guitar left in a damp, forgotten corner of a basement. Your strings, your emotional and energetic pathways were rusty with old resentment, caked with the grime of unfelt pain, and hanging loose from a lack of discipline. When life came along and tried to play you, the sound that came out was a dull, dissonant, ugly thud. It was the sound of suffering. It could not harmonize with anything beautiful. The inner work you have done has been the painstaking process of restoring this sacred instrument. You have cleaned off the grime by releasing your stories. You have replaced the rusty strings by cutting the cords of unforgiveness. You have tightened the tuning pegs by cultivating discipline. And now, with the practice of gratitude, you are performing the final, crucial step. You are tuning the strings. You are using the perfect pitch of appreciation to bring your entire being into a state of beautiful, resonant harmony. Now, when life comes to play you, the note that rings out is no longer a dull thud. It is a clear, vibrant, and beautiful tone. It is the note of your own authentic essence. And because it is a clear and true note, it begins to participate in the symphony of the universe. It harmonizes with other clear notes. It attracts experiences, people, and opportunities that are in tune with it. You do not have to seek out beauty anymore. Beauty, resonating with the beauty of your own note, finds you. You do not have to chase grace. Grace, resonating with the grace of your own inner state, begins to flow through your life. You have tuned your instrument, and now you are ready to play your part in the magnificent, ever-unfolding music of creation. We have explored the beautiful and resonant reality that emerges as we change our inner state. We have learned that by tuning the instrument of our being, we begin to harmonize with a new, more graceful world. It is tempting to believe that this is the final chapter, the happily ever after of our spiritual story. It is easy to imagine that once we have tasted this peace, once we have felt this high vibration, that the work is done and we will simply remain in this state forever. But now, we must speak a gentle, compassionate, and essential truth. We must dismantle the myth of arrival. Your transformation is not a destination you reach. It is a continuous process of becoming. It is a dance, not a monument. Letting go is not an act you perform once, but a choice you must learn to make, moment by moment by moment. The old patterns have deep roots. The neural pathways of your anxiety, your anger, and your habits of holding on have been carved by a lifetime of repetition. They are like deep canyons etched into the landscape of your mind. As you do this work, you are carving new, shallower pathways of peace, acceptance, and release. But the old canyons do not simply vanish overnight. There will be times when, caught off guard, tired, or stressed, the water of your consciousness will inevitably flow back into an old, familiar canyon. You will find yourself suddenly consumed by an old anger. You will be ambushed by a familiar wave of anxiety. You will notice your fist is clenched again, holding on tightly to a story you thought you had released. In that moment, the ego, the inner critic, will leap at the opportunity to declare your failure. It will whisper or shout, "You see, it didn't work. All that effort was for nothing. You're still the same. You'll never change. You should know better by now." This is the most dangerous moment on the path. It is the moment where frustration and self-judgment can cause you to abandon the practice altogether. It is here that you must apply your most profound compassion. The reappearance of an old pattern, is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you are human. More than that, it is a sign that you are ready to heal that pattern on an even deeper level. The path of growth is not a straight line ascending to heaven. It is a spiral. You will circle back and revisit the same themes, but each time you will meet them from a higher vantage point, with more awareness, more wisdom, and more love than you had before. The inner conflict here is between the ego's perfectionism and the soul's compassion. The ego wants a perfect report card. It wants to achieve enlightenment, to get the certificate of healing, and to be done with the messy work of being human. It sees any slip-up as a mark against its record. But the soul knows that wisdom is not forged in perfection. It is forged in the messy, beautiful, and courageous act of repair. It is forged in the moment you notice you have fallen, and you choose, with kindness for yourself, to stand back up. The goal is not to never fall. The goal is to shorten the time between falling and rising. At first, you might get lost in an old anger for 3 days. With practice, you might get lost for 3 hours, then 3 minutes, then perhaps only 3 seconds, before you catch yourself with a gentle inner smile and say, "Ah, there is that old story again," and you choose once more to let it be. This is the true measure of progress, not the absence of falling, but the grace and speed of your rising. The core message you must carry with you every single day is this: every moment is a new birth. The past has no power over you, save for the power you give it by thinking about it in the present. It does not matter what happened 5 minutes ago. It does not matter that you just had an unconscious reactive thought. That moment is gone. It has dissolved into the non-existence from which it came. This moment, right now, is pristine. It is a clean slate. It is a fresh beginning. In this moment, you are free to choose again. You are free to come back to your breath. You are free to soften your body. You are free to choose love over fear. Your past does not define you. Only your present choice defines you. To truly grasp this is to be liberated from the tyranny of your own history. You are not the sum of your past mistakes. You are the embodiment of your present choice. To integrate this truth into your very being, you can use the most constant and faithful companion you have, your breath. Your breath is the ultimate tool for continuous rebirth. It is a natural cycle of release and reception, of death and life, that happens over 20,000 times a day. You can learn to consciously participate in this cycle. The practice is this: become aware of your breath as often as you can. As you exhale, make it a conscious act of letting go. Imagine you are releasing everything that is old, everything that is stale, everything that belongs to the moment that just passed. Breathe out the tension in your shoulders. Breathe out the lingering frustration from a difficult conversation. Breathe out the memory of your last mistake. Let each exhalation be a small, gentle death of the past. Then, as you inhale, make it a conscious act of reception. Imagine you are breathing in this new moment in its absolute freshness. You are breathing in new life, new energy, new possibility. You are breathing in a clean slate. Each inhale is a new birth. By linking this powerful intention to the natural rhythm of your body, you transform your breathing from an automatic function into a constant, devotional practice of release and renewal. You are dying and being reborn with every single breath. Think of the magnificent legend of the phoenix. The phoenix is not a creature that is reborn just once. Its very nature is the process of continuous rebirth. It does not cling to its old, beautiful feathers when they have become worn and tired. It does not fear the fire of transformation. It understands that to be renewed, it must allow the old self to be consumed. It gathers all that is old and complete within itself, builds its own funeral pyre, and allows itself to be turned to ash. And from that very ash, from the substance of its own past, it rises again, more vibrant, more glorious, and more alive than before. You are this phoenix, Every time you notice yourself clinging to an old, painful identity and you consciously choose to release it, you are stepping into the fire. Every time you choose a new, more loving response instead of an old, reactive one, you are rising from the ashes. This is not a once-in-a-lifetime event. This is your moment-to-moment practice. Or consider the simple, profound miracle of the rising sun. The sun does not rise once and then declare its work finished for all time. The glory of the sunrise lies in its unwavering fidelity, its daily promise. No matter how dark, how long, or how stormy the night was, the sun rises again. It does not judge the darkness that came before it. It simply rises, and in its rising, it transforms the world, bathing it in new light, new warmth, and the promise of a new day. Let your awareness be this sun. It does not matter how dark the previous moment was, how lost in thought or mired in fear you may have been. In this moment, right now, you can choose to rise. You can choose to bring the light of your conscious, loving presence to your experience, and in doing so, grant yourself a completely new beginning. This is not a metaphor. This is your power. This is the courage to be reborn, not just once in a lifetime, but in the freshness and infinite possibility of every single moment. We have walked a long and winding path together. We have descended into the shadows of the past and the phantoms of the future. We have unmasked the ego, embraced the wisdom of water, built the banks of discipline, and learned to be reborn with every breath. And so, we arrive at the final and most important question of all: what for? What is the result of all this inner work? What does a life lived from this place of profound release and open-hearted presence actually look and feel like? We must now paint a picture of the destinationless journey, the unheld life. But first, we must be very clear about what it is not. The unheld life is not a life free from problems. It is not a magical fairy tale existence where your car never breaks down, where your body never aches, where loved ones never leave, where the rain never falls on your plans. To seek a life free from challenge is to seek an existence that is not life. The promise of this path is not the removal of life's difficulties. The promise is the removal of your suffering about life's difficulties. The great shift is not in the content of your life, but in the context in which you hold it. The problems may still arise, but the internal war, the secondary layer of resistance, anxiety, and ego drama, is gone. You meet the challenges of life from a place of deep peace and inner resilience, not from a place of fear and contraction. The storm may come, but you now know yourself to be the mountain, not the tent. So what does this feel like, this unheld life? The first quality is an unmistakable lightness. It is the feeling of having finally set down a backpack filled with heavy stones that you have been carrying for so long. You had forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. There is a buoyancy to your spirit. You are no longer weighed down by the anchor of the past or burdened by the imagined weight of the future. You are free to inhabit the vertical reality of the present moment, and you find that this moment, when unburdened, is incredibly light. From this lightness, a natural spontaneity is born. Because you are no longer filtering every experience through the dense screens of past trauma and future fear, you can respond to life with a fresh, childlike creativity. You are not bound by a rigid script. Your actions begin to arise from a place of intuition and inspiration, rather than from fearful calculation and defense. With this comes a profound sense of aliveness. When the constant, noisy static of the egoic mind subsides, you arrive fully in your senses. Colors seem brighter and more vivid. Food tastes more complex and satisfying. The feeling of the breeze on your skin becomes an intimate caress. The world, which was once a blurry backdrop to the movie of your personal drama, now comes into sharp, high-definition focus. You find a quiet joy in the simplest things: the steam rising from a cup of tea, the intricate pattern on a leaf, the sound of distant laughter. You have come home to the stunning sensory richness of the only moment that ever truly exists, now. And underpinning it all is a deep, quiet, and unshakable trust. It is a trust in the flow of life itself, and a trust in your own capacity to meet whatever arises. You stop trying to micromanage the universe. You release the exhausting job of trying to control every outcome. You do your part with presence and integrity, and then you allow life to do its part, trusting that even the challenges are part of a larger, intelligent unfolding. You have moved from a relationship of fear and control with life to one of collaboration and trust. This can bring forth one final inner conflict, the temptation to cling to an idealized image of what this unheld life should look like. The ego, even the spiritual ego, may create a new, perfect image. An enlightened person would never feel anger. A healed person is always blissful. And then it will use this impossible ideal to judge your authentic human experience. When you inevitably feel a flash of anger or a moment of sadness, it will whisper, "You see, you're not there yet. You have failed." Here, you must apply the final letting go. Let go of the need to be a perfect spiritual being. The goal is not to become an emotionless saint. The goal is to become a whole, vibrant, and fully alive human being who is no longer at war with their own heart. The goal is authenticity, not perfection. Embrace your messy, beautiful, imperfect humanity, but now hold it all in a space of boundless, loving awareness. The core message, the ultimate state we have been journeying towards, is this: you have ceased to be at war with life because you have realized you are life. The illusion of a separate you who is struggling against an external world has dissolved. You are a wave in the great ocean of being, and you have finally stopped fighting your own oceanic nature. You have stopped resisting the currents and the tides. You understand that you are not separate from the flow. You are the flow. And when you realize this, the fight ends and the dance begins. You are no longer a chess player, hunched over the board of your life, anxiously calculating every possible move, fearing every threat, trying to strategize your way to a victory that never comes. The tension, the mental effort, the constant fear of making a wrong move, all of it falls away. You have stepped away from the chessboard. You have started to hear the music of the present moment, and you have begun to dance. A great dancer is not thinking about the next step. They are so completely one with the music that the distinction between the dancer, the dance, and the music disappears. There is only the joyful, spontaneous, and perfect unfolding of the moment. This is the unheld life. To cultivate this state of being, this dancer's grace, you can practice the art of the beginner's mind. It is the simple, profound practice of dropping your assumptions and meeting every moment as if for the first time. When you speak with a person you have known for 20 years, listen as if you have no idea what they are going to say. Release the story you have about them and meet the person who is here with you now. When you walk the same street you have walked 1,000 times, see it with fresh eyes. Notice the light, the shadows, the textures you have never seen before. When you approach a familiar task, let go of your expectations about how it will go. Approach it with a sense of open, curious inquiry. This practice of not knowing is a powerful antidote to the jaded, repetitive experience of a mind that lives in the past. It keeps life perpetually fresh. It keeps you open to surprise, to wonder, and to the everyday magic that the ego is too busy and too knowledgeable to notice. It keeps you in the dance. So, this is the invitation: to live a life unheld, to walk through the world with an open heart and open hands, no longer clenching your fists around what was or what might be. To meet the ever-changing music of life, not with fear and resistance, but with the spontaneous grace of a dancer. To know that your true safety lies not in the walls you build around yourself, but in your infinite capacity to adapt, to flow, and to love. It is a life of less control and more trust. A life of less planning and more presence. A life of less knowing and more wonder. You are not solving the mystery of life. You are learning to live inside it, to become it. You are no longer just a participant in the universe. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. You are the dancer and the dance. We began this journey together with an image of a clenched fist, white-knuckled with the strain of holding on. A fist fighting the world, trying to grasp the ungraspable, trying to control the uncontrollable. It was a symbol of strength, we thought, but it was a strength born of fear, and its result was exhaustion. Now, at the end of our journey, let us look at our hand once more. It is no longer a fist. It has opened. See it now, resting in a state of quiet grace. This open hand is not weak. It is the embodiment of a new and far greater power. A clenched fist cannot receive anything. An open hand is ready for all of life. It can receive the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the rain. A clenched fist is an act of war. An open hand is an act of peace. It is a symbol of trust, of allowance, of its own quiet strength that has nothing to prove. This is the transformation you have earned. You have not gained a new power. You have simply remembered the power that was always waiting in the release of tension. The freedom you have been seeking was never at the end of a long and arduous battle. It was never a prize to be won. It has been here all along, patiently waiting for you, underneath the noise of your struggle. Your peace was never lost. It was only obscured by your resistance to what is. Your strength was never absent. It was only being misapplied, wasted on the unwinnable war against reality and the futile effort of holding on to smoke. You have learned that the courage required is not the courage to hold on tighter, but the sublime courage to finally let go, to trust the flow, to rest in the vast, silent, unbreachable sanctum of your own being. This is your true home. Do not believe that you must now be perfect in this practice. You are a human being, not a deity. You are a dancer, not a statue. There will be moments you forget. There will be moments the fist clenches again out of old habit. Do not despair. Simply notice. And with the quiet compassion of a loving friend, invite the hand to open once more. Let that be your only work. The journey is not about arriving at a destination where you are free. It is about realizing that the freedom is in the choosing, moment by moment, to release your grip. The work was never to break the chains that bound you. The work was to finally see that the door to the cage has been open all along. All that was ever required of you was to stop staring at the imaginary bars, to turn around, and to quietly walk out into the open air of your own magnificent, unheld life.